world simply as Le Mans. Since 1923, this track in western France has been home to the world's original 24-hour endurance race. Coupled with the likes of the legendary Indianapolis 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix, the 24 Hours of Le Mans is widely regarded as the world's most prestigious endurance race, and it forms a part of motorsport's Treble Crown. The first race was held on the outskirts of Le Mans back in 1906 and was called the French Grand Prix, the first Grand Prix of its kind. It was run on public roads, with one lap of the circuit stretching just over 103 kilometers. Then, in 1922, the secretary of the ACO, Georges Durand, was given 100,000 francs to facilitate and devise a new race for the region. Durand took this as an opportunity to stage something completely unheard of, a 24-hour endurance race that would push the modern race car to its limits, where manufacturers would prove their worth to the world. Durand's original Circuit de la Sarthe stretched 17.2 kilometers and was entirely comprised of public roads. It ventured into the city of Le Mans and stretched to a tight hairpin before venturing on to the 8-kilometer long Mulsanne Straight. In 1929, the hairpin was bypassed due to safety concerns with expanding town suburbs, and safety was always a thing that changed and progressed the racetrack over the years. In 1932, the track as we know began to take shape. That was prompted by the construction of a new 1.5 kilometer bypass running from the start-finish area to the new entrance of the Mulsanne Straight, the now infamous Tête Rouge corner. This section featured the fast first curve that remains today, and what would later become the location of the famous Dunlop Bridge. Now, back in 1923, it was a field of 33 drivers that competed in the inaugural event, and their average speed, 57 miles an hour. By 1956, the field had increased to 49 cars, and they were running at nearly twice the average speed, at 104 miles an hour. As the cars became quicker and the competition rose, the track continued to evolve. For example, in 1972, the final section of the track was completely reconfigured to bypass the dangerous Maison Blanche kink. This included the addition of the Porsche curves and the revised Ford chicanes to slow the cars on the run from Annage corner to the start-finish line. These features remain today. One of the then traditional aspects of the race was the Le Mans start. Drivers would stand across to the track where the cars were parked, and then at the drop of the French tricolor, they ran to their car, climbed in, fired the engine, engaged first gear, and pulled away in a cloud of exhaust and burned rubber. Not surprisingly, this was discontinued for safety reasons, as drivers would either rush to buckle their seatbelts, or they didn't even bother buckling them at all. Dan Gurney, who together with AJ Foyt won the 1967 race, famously recounted using his knees to steer his Ford GT Mark II on their opening lap at speeds well above 200 miles an hour whilst he fastened his seatbelt. Since 1971, Le Mans has reverted to the more traditional rolling start used throughout endurance racing today. Le Mans will ever be known as the proving ground for car manufacturers and a lifelong dream for drivers. It continues to rank as the pinnacle of endurance racing that inspires similar races to take shape around the world. Things like the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, or the 24 Hours of Spa, or the Rolex 24 at Daytona. But there will only ever be one Le Mans. Experience Le Mans on iRacing.
to the beginning of the finale of the 24 Hours of Le Mans here with the Neo Endurance Series. It's round number 6, double points on the line and everything up for grabs. It has been a bit of a barnstormer here today already. We've only had 4 or 5 cars fully retired from the race, which means that there are still a ton of cars out on track. Hello everybody, I'm Cameron Walsh with Jimmy Broadbent and Connery Maddock, as well as Hugo Louis. We're going to be bringing you the next couple of hours here, hours 18 to 21 of the Neo Endurance Series. We hope that we continue to bring you some of the best coverage that we can imagine. It is the entirety of RaceSpot TV here on display today, covering all 24 hours. Your top threes right now in each class is the VRS Coana SimSport number 1 is in the lead. Just Master Movano Racing is in second. Core Sim Racing is in third. And the prototypes going down to GT. Been a good day for Heisenfeldt-Core Motorsports. They have been leading pretty much all of the race. A brief battle with SimRC.de. Iris's car did them well to get the fire under their rear ends and get them pushing once again. They managed to push out a fairly good lead. SimRC.de Iris has been safely in second position since then. VRS Coana SimSport, your front-running Corvette, has been doing a fairly good attempt. It's been trying to stay on the lead lap, but is currently unsuccessful. They're running ahead of Thrustmaster Movano Racing, which is only a couple, maybe 10-15 seconds behind, so we'll keep our eye on that. In GTS, it's all pure racing team pretty much all day long. Team DFTBA occasionally sniffs the lead during the pit stops, but it's just not in the cards for them to actually be able to overtake the PRT car. Team RSO has been safely in third position as they round out the lead lap cars in the GTS field. Overall, the racing has been very respectful and good. Very few actual incidents. We had a couple of scares. Coanda very almost getting collected by the Torque Freak Racing's Bram Reniers, but Bram was able to correct his spinning Aston Martin. He managed to control that car, keep it off the Coanda car and keep it off the walls. That was very good. We also had an incident involving the Heisenfeldt-Core Motorsports car, which resulted in a penalty for the car that ended up collecting them, one of the GTS cars. So with that, we'll get our coverage properly underway. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be joining us from. We thank you. It is currently 5:06 in the morning on the East Coast. It's somewhere in the night. It's probably, 10 o'clock over in England and over in Australia. I imagine it is somewhere in the ballpark of 8 o'clock at night. So wherever you're joining us, whether you're just waking up, whether you're just starting to settle into bed, thanks for making RaceSpot TV part of your day. Of course, joining me, Connery Maddock, Jimmy Broadbent. We'll bring him in. Connery, it's a 24-hour race, and you've missed pretty much all of it.
Yeah, I have. It's quite unlike the Daytona 24 Hours, which was the iRacing event that we had just a couple of months ago, where I did the first 6 hours. So now I'm doing the last 6 hours of this one. So never really been in this situation before, commentating on the end of an endurance event rather than the start. But looks like everyone, well, most of your drivers have actually survived the night, which is a good sign.
Yeah, very, very good. I have to say, I personally, I was not a big fan of only having to do the last 6, so I ended up just starting way earlier. It's by way earlier, I mean I probably started doing commentary, I think at 11. So I've been up for a while. Jimmy, hello. You're also joining us here for the very first time. Have you been watching any of the racing at all during your day?
Oh, I've been in and out. I managed to catch some yesterday. Hello, guys. First of all, I was lucky enough back with the first Le Mans 24 Hours to actually be in this exact position. I did the last 6 hours there as well. So this is sort of a familiar thing for me to be in. But I think we get the best in it. I think we get the last 6 hours. It's the most exciting bit, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, not only that, but with it being the Neo Endurance Series instead of just the official top split racing, not only do we have far more cars still continuing, but you know that the racers as a whole are going to be the purely top of the top. Speaking of which, just talking about, just because this is the beginning of this broadcast, so anybody watching this back as time goes on, just to quickly go over whereabouts people lay I seem to have closed down my my Neo standings, but I can easily pop that back open. There we go. And just to quickly go over where people lay, the VRS Quanta SimSport car is currently in prime position to take the championship, especially with them being in the lead, as Lars Conrad, PRT's GT3, and the MSP Phoenix car come into pit lane. The Quanta SimSport car is in prime position to end up coming away with the championship. They have 87 points, 3 victories, Circuit of the Americas, Nürburgring, and Spa. Le Mans is a double points race, obviously. Neo is a typical 6-hour format. Le Mans is obviously a 24-hour format. It's going to be worth a little bit more. Thrustmaster Movano Racing is your second position car, and really, I think one of the only ones that have a really serious chance of fighting with Coanda, unless something really dramatic happens to that prototype car of Quanta SimSport. They have 70 points with a victory at Motegi and very good finishes at Nürburgring and Spa. Friction Racing, they've been in it all season long. They've been slowly building up their finishes. A 9, an 8, a 14, a 12, and a 16 at Spa. Their best finish leaves them with 59 points there in third. Then it goes Core Sim Racing with 58, and then PRT's LMP Black with 56. So a bunch of cars still in contention. I mean, if you look at the calculations, there are still plenty of cars that could come away with a victory, but realistically, you got to keep your eyes on those front-running 4 or 5 prototypes. Down in your Grand Tour, it is going to be quite a bit more of a straightforward affair. The Heisenfeld Core Motorsports team, they've won at Motegi and Nürburgring, and they've been on the podium for Sebring and Circuit of the Americas. So understandably, they've 86 points. Torrent Motorsports, 69. SimRC.de Iris with a 61. The BRS Quanta SimSport Corvette has 53 points. Vendaval has 52, and this is an interesting thing to note. Both Vendaval and Torrent Motorsports are essentially out of the equation. So that is an important thing to note. Phoenix Motorsports as well is out of the equation due to being heavily damaged early on in the race. So SRN Motorsports, SimRC.de Crimson, and PRT's GT effort all have, well, actually, the PRT GT effort is also out as well. So it's fairly wide open as far as Grand Touring's scoring goes. Looking down to the GTS field, it's basically been pure racing team all season long, minus a hiccup at Spa. They won at Sebring, Circuit of the Americas, Motegi, Nürburgring, and they got 1 point at Spa. But that 1 point at Spa is actually fairly troubling because they've opened themselves up. They're only 10 points ahead of Thrustmaster Movano's GTS effort, which right now is currently in the 4th position, or even 5th even, with Shinya Mashimi Sim Racing in 3rd, Odax Motorsports in 4th, and MSP Drivers Home listed here, but it's MSP Phoenix Home now with a 54 points. So really 5 or 6 cars in Grand Touring S, Grand Touring Sport that could take it away. So guys, really they are playing for just about all the marbles here, especially with double points on the line. 40 points goes to the winners. So that could change everything, and I know that that's an overdramatic term, but no, seriously, this could change really everything. Connery, we'll go with you first.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with 6 hours remaining, there's just the light at the end of the tunnel right now, but still, and everything can change in the course of 6 hours. I mean, in the 12-hour races we had everything change in sometimes the last 3 hours. So still not over yet, even though most of your class leaders right now are the championship leaders. Yeah, as I just see Pure Racing Team GTS, they are actually at the front of that GTS field. So all of your championship leaders are at the front of their respective fields. But again, that can all change. One particular car that I've noticed is well, quite out of position for, well, from what I've seen so far this season, Team DFTBA in that 2nd place in that GTS field. That's a fantastic run for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, well, they're actually leading right now simply due to how the pits go, but they trade back and forth with the pits. And it's been just a season-long effort to dial in the Audis and the Mercedes, and I think here at Le Mans they're finally in lockstep. All season long we basically had a Mercedes class and an Audi class, it seemed. no more for the most part, as the Mercedes is really taking the fight with 2 cars on the podium, whereas the Audi only has the 1. Just looking at the timing, it's fairly important to know how timing in all the pits are affecting, as PRT has actually just resumed the lead due to Team DFTBA pitting this time. Their stint times are getting closer and closer. They used to be stinting almost halfway away from each other. Like halfway through one stint, the other would come in. Now they're just 3 laps apart almost, or really 2.5 laps apart. Looking elsewhere, also of note is the Heisenfeld Core the Heisenfeld Core Motorsports car. They are actually only 1 minute and 40 ahead of SimRC Iris, and that is fairly keeping them on their toes, because if anything would trip up Kei Kashubi in that Core Motorsports car, it could easily go to SimRC Iris, and the VRS Koana SimSport car is only 4 minutes behind that. So very good showing from the Corvette, Jimmy, which is a very good thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of times this season the Corvette struggle in terms of compared to the Aston. Really, Aston seems to have had the pace all season, but it's always been that same Corvette there, always been just knocking on the door of the Aston. It's always been that number 48 car, so it's great to see it doing well at Le Mans. I want to really add to your point earlier about the double points. Now, I think we're passing the point now where it may be technically possible because of cut-offs, etc. But at the start of this race, it was actually possible for Radicals Online, who are sitting 7th in the P2 standings, to have won the championship if everyone else fell off, which I think is fantastic when you get to these double-header races. We have so much at stake. I mean, you have to take into account Le Mans is a 24-hour race. We've gone through a Sebring and a half already to get here. I like to use that form of measurement. I think it's quite illustrative, but we still have, as Connery said, just under 6 hours to go, which is another endurance race. I mean, just getting to the end of this thing is a massive achievement in itself. But of course, those guys at the top, the Coanders, the SimRC cars, the core guys, they aren't going to be thinking about finishing. They're completely sight set on the win from the get-go. And unsurprisingly, again, we're seeing those top names at the top of the charts now.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, it sort of has been that kind of day where the fastest guys are unsurprisingly at the tippity top. A couple of the surprises have been certainly the Mercedes, certainly the Coanda car, and definitely the Team DFTBA and, quite frankly, the Team RSO guys. But overall, I think for pretty much all of us, the big thing that's been the surprise is the complete lack of penalties. The racing has been pure and clean, and the fact that whenever somebody seems to have an off, everyone seems to be waiting. We've been interviewing quite a couple of GTS guys, and they all seem extraordinarily happy. We had a very good interview with a Pro Batum Racing number 79, and they were almost glowing about how good it's been. Of course, a couple of teams from the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series bringing their GT cars over here for the 24-hour race as sort of a reward for doing so well in the Gathering of Tweakers Series, which finished up yesterday. But so it seems one of the big stories of the day. Everyone's nice and clean.
That's what you expect, really. What you hope so, anyway. Especially in these longer races, you often find in the endurance setting that the lower class, in this case the GTS guys, are the ones that end up the most upset because they get sort of pushed around a little bit. Obviously, the faster guys are very keen to get through as quick as they can. But I think it just shows the quality of the series when you have GT drivers come in here and they are over the moon with how they've been treated. I mean, I know personally as a prototype driver it can be quite frustrating when you have to wait behind someone, especially at the Porsche curves. So that's where the biggest speed differences on the circuit between the prototypes and the GTs. But I mean, again, just goes to show how competitive and how competent the drivers are here at NEO.
Absolutely. Just from what I've seen over the last little while with Jake, it was certainly a good run. We actually had a very long stint of time where a trio of Mercedes were basically bumper to bumper for probably a good full stint. It was the MSPs, or actually it was the Pure Racing teams. GT3, the Gathering of Tweakers GTS car, and yeah, that was the MSP Phoenix 83. So we had a great row of battle between these Mercedes, and from what I've noticed is that these prototype cars, they can really pass without influencing the other classes' battles, and that's very important, Connery, when you can actually have cars non-influence the battles. We normally see some great battles until prototypes come or GT cars come and split them all up, but no, not so much here at Le Mans.
And I think most of that is down to the Mulsanne Straight, because the HPDs can get up to their top speed and just able to breeze past these GT cars without giving them too much of an issue. They can even take them 3 wide without too much of an issue, even if they're battling side by side coming down the straight. So traffic not as much of an issue here as it is at perhaps some other tracks like Spa or Sebring, as we're actually having a little bit of a look at the 79 and the 87.
It's the SRN Motorsports Orange and Pro Batum Racing. Actually, funnily enough, we interviewed Corey Davis, I believe it was, from SRN Motorsports Orange, and Milton Carvalho, who is currently driving that number 79. And basically, both drivers, they were very happy. They're both from the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series here on a slip from GES to the Neo Endurance Series to enjoy the Le Mans 24 Hours. And both of them were having a really grand old time, and their objectives were fairly straightforward as the Team GT prototype ducks into the pit lane. They wanted to have a clean race, and they wanted to have a good race, and they both wanted to break into the top 10. And, well, they're trying very hard to do the top 10 part, but really they're starting to get into a fight, and they both said they would have to pass the other one to get to that top 10, and actually not that far ahead, I believe, is in fact the Gathering of Tweakers 99. So certainly keep your eyes open to this battle here. And as the Mercedes are showing us, or showing me at least, that they're putting out a very good show here at Le Mans.
It's great to see these guys come together like this, especially over the length of the circuit. I mean, this circuit is nearly 14 kilometers long for one single lap. I'm just looking at the last lap times. 2 tenths separating these guys, which I think is awesome over this period of time. I think just to quickly expand on what you said, Cam, about aiming for realistic finishes. A top 10 is a very impressive finish, especially in an event like this. And although when you're in the car at this point, and people sort of argue, why would you maybe be so aggressive maybe to get into 12th or 11th place? When you're in the car and you're driving for a stint of 2 or 3 hours, and you see you're gaining that person in front, that is motivation right there. I mean, especially now for Noel, who's in that SRN Motorsports Orange car, he's visibly getting close to the guy in front. That'll be motivation there. That'll be great for him. So he'll be really enjoying this little battle at the moment.
Absolutely. Heisenfeld Queer Motorsport spent 48.2 seconds in pit lane. That would mean, to me at least, that they have gotten tires. A normal fuel-only pit stop is 35.8 seconds, which means that Heisenfeld Queer Motorsports car has gotten its service and is now seated about 1 minute and 36 seconds ahead of the Sim RC car, which, yes, indeed it is. So, the Kate Kashubi car, Connery, has a full pit stop right now on the SimRC.de Iris car, and it shouldn't come as any surprise, especially with Kate Kashubi piloting it.
Yeah, no, not really. The Heisenfeld Core Motorsports car has been absolutely dominant through most of this season. No one's really been able to touch them at all, and they're just doing it yet again on this 24-hour race. So it's really something we should have really expected for them to be that far ahead. But this battle between SRN and Probatum is getting closer and closer every single second that passes. Probatum's going to get the draft off of some of the lap traffic ahead of them. Looking at Twitter, though, if you want to contact us on Twitter, you just use the hashtag IRNEO, and Shinya Machini Racing have been doing just that. They're in the final 6 hours of their race right now. Shinya back in the car, P6 with a close battle from 6th to 9th. And they've also been doing 6 hourly fun facts. 80 now a fun fact. In the GTS class, we have been doing an average speed of 194.7 kilometers an hour over a lap. So that's a very fun fact.
Well, there you go. And the chat was just about wondering where we stand as far as retirements go. Well, we have one car that did not take the starter which is 17, the number 17 Mad Cape Racing. We continue to watch the Gathering of Tweakers at number 99 and the Backmarker Racing Mercedes go at it. As I'll just go down the list, the JCL Sim Racing car is 258 laps down, which means very early on it sustained significant damage. The Pure Racing Team GT is retired. The Asbury Motorsports GT is retired. The Torrent Motorsports GT is retired. The Odox Motorsport Samsung GTS car is retired. And then you get to sort of your walking wounded, the Vendevil Sim Racing car. It's only 125 laps down, which it means that it's out of the contention, but it is still circulating. The SimRC.de Emerald is really only your really only running prototype that's retired, and that was due to multiple engine explosions, which is I understand that it does many engine explosions per minute to propel the car, but these explosions were not those kinds of explosions. The car had to retire. Radicals Online Pro-Am, pretty significant damage there, about 10 laps off the front of their GTS field. But they are walking wounded. Phoenix Motorsports had a really terrible issue with, I believe it was Jonathan Fuller. He had a hardware failure in a very bad spot of the track. If it was just 30 seconds earlier or 30 seconds later, the car would have been okay. But instead, it really wrecked hard. And that was just about that. They managed to fix the car. That was that. And that's pretty much it as far as the cars go. And your final running car is in 38th, the Hellenic Racing car. And then you got a lot of walking wounded. I think you'd be able to see them as time goes on. So not superly done. As we are watching still that Backmarker Racing car of Kim Salveson and Dirk Turlings. Actually, Backmarker Racing also coming in and saying hello, as Kyle Burney came in and had an interview with us. As we see the battle right now between Dirk Turlings and Kim Salveson. Jimmy, as we have Neil Heckens to interview in just in a few moments.
These guys are getting close together now. Like I said, it's just a matter of being sort of nice and patient here. You see in Nilton, they're thinking about going to the inside at the second chicane down the Mulsanne and then thinks better of it. There's as much as you get excited at this point, you're like, yeah, okay, great, I'm catching the guy in front. It's important to be really composed, and especially in this race, just sort of be very chill. Don't take any unnecessary risks. For example, I mean, I know there are live stewards watching this event, and any unnecessary risks tend to go. Don't go unnoticed, but we go again and again, sort of getting a bit of a slipstream. Not going to look to the inside down the Mulsanne. I think he's just looking maybe just to pass on the slipstream. I don't think he's looking to try and outbrake the car in front. That can be quite risky, and you don't really want to be thinking, unless you're being held up massively, about any sort of overtakes really until the last hour and a half of the race, because that's when it all matters. That's when the pit strategies all come together. Well, hope so anyway. But I think the Probatum Racing car is just happy sitting there for now and just waiting for a mistake to get past.
Yeah, and really that Probatum car, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't push the subject. We've seen this at least the time frame that Jake and I covered, we pretty much noticed the lap times continuously starting to spiral downward. Just because a lot of cars were starting to push to secure their pit strategy. So I wouldn't be that surprised if Noel Lundberg had that Probatum Racing car on one side or the other trying to get on by. He wants to get into the top 10. That Probatum Racing, that's their goal, so they're going to go for it. And we have Neil Heckens from Race Control, as we'll see if we can get him into the Race Spot TV booth. He's also a driver for the Racing Lions Corvette, and he last raced the car a while ago. As you know, I can't, so I will open the door for him. And Neil Heckens will be joining us into the Race Spot TV booth. Driver for the Racing Lions. We'll start with that. How is the Racing Lions day going here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans?
Slowly but steady. It appears we don't have the pure pace, but we're just staying out of trouble and running our laps. Hopefully we can challenge Dog Freak Racing later in the race.
Yes, and it seems that Coanda is really the one holding the banner for the bow tie here, as they're pressuring for a podium finish. It seemed that the Corvette and the Aston Martin seemed to not necessarily get along the best, but it seems at least here at Le Mans things have been fairly much okay. It hasn't been, say, perfect, but I don't think there could ever be such a thing.
Yeah, it's a bit mixed. It's more mixed as we saw at Spa as well. Those two tracks, suit the Corvette more. But it's still a hard car to drive with a lot of power, so it's you have to tame it especially throughout the Porsche curves.
Yeah, and going away from the driving section, we'll talk to Neil Hackens, the race control Neo organizer. So, Niall, it's been a fairly quiet day actually in the protest and penalty section.
Yeah, we're very pleased with that. It's a lot of. It looks like every team got their endurance mindset for this race. Obviously, because it's 24 hours. But we're very happy with the on-track action so far.
Yeah, it's been relatively exciting, even in the what would be normally traditionally the slower hours of the race. The last say 6 or so hours, we've seen great racing in the GTS field. The Mercedes seems to really be able to take it to the Audis today, and the Mercedes on their own right are really fighting for position. So I have to say the GTS field looking very strong, and the prototype field you can never go wrong with.
Yeah, we've seen this season the prototype teams are very competitive, and we had a lot of exciting battles on track throughout the whole season. So. We're very happy with the on-track action.
Yeah, and points are doubled here today, and very understandably so. The windows have closed out for quite a couple of teams, but for GT, it's really wide open as far as point hauls go, simply due to the fact that all of your front-running GT cars, Vendaval, Torrent, Pure Racing Team, have all fallen to the wayside. GT looks like it's really, really opened up.
Yeah, it's of course leading, I believe, almost the whole race so far, but SimRC are still chasing them and are within reach in case there is a Core makes a mistake. So there's no rest for Core now for the last 5.5 hours.
No, not at all, as Kei Kashubi, he's trying his best to secure it, but yeah, going to be pretty tough. I imagine once the clock starts getting a bit more towards that golden 11 o'clock, of course, that completing the 24 hours of Le Mans, the Neo first 24-hour race, it's going to probably pick up as far as business goes in the protest and penalties section. Hopefully we won't see that, but I think you guys have been doing a fairly outstanding job, and hopefully you can continue to have a quiet day.
Yeah, we hope so too. And you guys keep on doing a great job with the broadcast.
Yeah, well, we're certainly trying. It's the full gambit of the Race Spot crew. We haven't done a full 24-hour race in a long time, so we're happy to do it. And of course, we're always happy to be here for the Neo Endurance Series. Even though this closes out yet another great season of racing, it's a fantastic way of doing it. Any clues on season 4?
Not yet. We're just wrapping up. First, let's wrap up this season, and then we are looking at a new summer event with probably an exciting partner. And after that, we'll see what we'll do for season 4. But no doubt there will be a season 4 at the end of the year.
Very happy to hear it. It's probably going to be a sprint car endurance race on dirt, yes?
Yeah, maybe a winged sprint car endurance race.
Yeah, right, I knew it. But either way, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thanks before we let you get back to your duties?
I want to thank my teammates for in advance for a great season. It has been tough with the Corvette, but yeah, we never gave up. I want to thank all the stewards this weekend as well and throughout the season for giving their time to help us out with the new injuries. And I want to thank you, RacePod, as well, of course, for all the hours of talking, shouting.
Well, we're happy to do it. So thank you very much for having us, and hope to talk to you again soon. We still got quite a bit of action to go for, so we'll see how the race finishes up. But if it's going to be anything like the race has been, it's going to be a good one. So Niall, thank you very much for joining us in the booth, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Neil Heckens, driver for the Racing Lions Corvette, and also one of the organizers for the Neo Endurance Series. So a very good interview, Connery. Just goes to show you how cool-headed and level-headed guys you have, and not only that, they're drivers.
Yeah, exactly. And Neil Heckins also being a driver as well as being part of the race control here. It's just a lot of work for him, and he does a very, very good job at it. But this battle between the 87 and the 79 still relatively close. But I don't think Brabham Racing is kind of in a rush right now. They're just taking it slowly. I think the big thing that they're doing right here is just saving a little bit of fuel behind them, just trying to just make this stint go on for just a little bit longer, and maybe that'll benefit them at the end of the race when they hope to get ahead of SRN Motorsports. They are down the field in that GTS field. They're around about the 11th, 12th, 13th place. So they're not fighting for the top positions, but they still finding the urge to fight, even though they're down a couple of spots and perhaps where they should be. But yeah, so it's good to see some close in terms of position battles this late on in the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, it might not be for the first position or the second position, but for these guys, it is good as gold. Even if they just break the top 10, I can say that they'd definitely be very happy with that result, and very understandable. You know, you get some of the super pro teams, some of the guys that are very well constructed teams that have inordinate amounts of times to practice and practice on worn tires and all the other stuff, but for these guys, even though they're very quick drivers, it's certainly not the monolithic teams that we see in the higher tiers of iRacing, and these guys, I'm sure, will be super excited, and in position 10 be just as good as position 1 for somebody else. So as we go with that, the number 91 car, the backmarker racing car, had a bit of an off track, but that still didn't allow the Gathering of Tweakers GTS 99 to sneak on by. They have been working on that for quite some time, Jimmy, and it's been unsurprisingly, it's been a pair of battles in the GT3 division with these Mercedes.
I mean, it's good to see two cars close on track, as Connery just said, and you might be seeing the 91 car getting a little bit tired, getting a little bit fatigued. You've got Kim Salverson in the car at the moment of that number 91 backmarker racing car, and this can happen over a stint. You can maybe brain goes to sleep down the straight. You're sort of thinking about getting out of the car, thinking about getting something to eat after you get out of the car, and before you know it, you missed your braking point and you're running over the gravel. Luckily, not too bad of an incident there for them. You're still having a little bit of a slide coming out of the second or the first chicane, so that's going to allow Dirk Twilling to get into the slipstream now. Let's see what sort of slipstream this 99 car can get coming down the straight, shall we? So here we are then. Not too much, really. You see, it's I think maybe it's the same as we said earlier, Connery. Another example of fuel saving. I mean, if you can save a lap of fuel around here, that's 14 kilometers. It's quite an impressive amount of fuel to save.
Yeah, that could definitely be the plan right here. Or it could be that that number 99 car actually has a little bit of damage to the rear spoiler to that Mercedes, just on the what would be the driver's right-hand side of it. You just see that it's pushed down a little bit. Maybe that's affecting him a little bit as well. There's a little bit of front-end damage to the the bonnet, or as Americans will call it, the hood. But yeah, he's just going to lift off, and he's not going to try and pass backmarker racing, I guess. So I think the fuel-saving option is definitely the one they're going for at the moment.
We're just seeing now a little message from Hugo here saying that the gathering of Tweaker's car are staying behind on purpose, it seems. They were a little bit of an incident earlier on in the race. So I think they don't quite have the agility to actually get past the car in front, and yeah, as we said before, maybe just making the best of it and trying to save a little bit of fuel. But that'll come into play a bit later on. I mentioned earlier on about the last hour and a half trying to get your strategies all sort of tied up for then. And that will be working into this. I mean, part of endurance racing across sim racing is that you have a team around you. A lot of these teams have 5 or 6 drivers who are signed up to drive. And whilst, for example, with the Gabriel Tweaker's car, we have Dirk in the car now. Oh, sorry, dog outside. And he'll have his team on the pit wall. They'll be thinking about the strategy, thinking about the long game. Someone will be having all the pit stops written down, all the pit times, how much fuel they can take, and that's the really fun part about endurance racing for me, is it's never just getting in the car and drive. There is so much going on behind the scenes, so much going on in the driver's head that it's very rarely dull.
Yeah, you gotta remember with this endurance racing, it's such a team effort. As you say, it's not just the driver's ability on track that decides whether you win or lose the race. It's so many other people. You've got your crew chiefs. You also some teams also have spotters as well, which just guide the drivers through traffic or any other battles that they're having. So it's an absolute team effort for these guys, and as I said, there are multiple people behind the scenes making sure these teams are doing the best that they can. Just having a little bit of a look at the Twitter stream that we have here, #IRNeo. Fusion Racing say they're 6 hours left and still running P8 in class. That is going to be that prototype class. Looks like we're still on target, so good for those guys. Fabrice Cornelius, part of the Thrustmaster Movano Racing GTS team, gave a card to Stefan for the last small 6 hours of the race, P5 at the moment, so they're running relatively well as well, but they're not in a championship winning position just yet, even though they're second in points.
A lot of these guys aren't here. I mean, we are in the final race of the season here, the double header, the double points, so a lot of teams were technically in with a chance, but of course having an advantage at the start, having an advantage there is going to make things a little bit easier for you, and that's where the Coans and whatnot are having a bit of an easier time out there. Of course, now we're getting to the point, I think it's, someone mentioned earlier, it's 70% to score some sort of points around here, even if you don't quite get to the finish. So we've passed that threshold now, meaning that there are points being scored for anyone still on 70% of the leader's laps, I suppose. I think it's done in class. So it's just worth going around, even if you aren't quite in the top lot. I mean, these guys down here fighting for 10th in class, and you might think that isn't big points, but all points matter at this stage, especially with double points going on.
Yeah, exactly, and just case in point, that number 32 car, Vanderbilt Sim Racing, they're currently, officially scored. The car that's down the most laps yet is still running in that number 32 car, so they're showing a great deal of sort of just sticking to it, just keeping those laps going and try and get to the end of the race now, I think is the aim for those, because they're about like 70 laps down, 70, 80 laps down on the rest of the GT1 field. So they're not even if someone crashes out ahead, it's going to be a struggle for them to pass anyone. But they're making a point of it, and they're going to get to the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, we briefly said earlier on about how just getting to the end of the race can be an achievement. You know, 24-hour race is a long time, especially at Le Mans. A grueling place to come for these cars. Lots of wear in the engine. You're at full throttle for a good chunk of this lap. So getting to the end is an achievement in itself. And even if you're out of contention, as the 91 car, back mark car goes a little bit wide, then you see the 99 car coming onto the dirty line. The tyres weren't like that too much, but again, opting to stay behind. I think that was the best chance that 99 cars had to get past the backmarker racing machine. But again, as we said before, I think opting just to stay behind just to save that fuel.
Yeah, it's also that perhaps that Gathering Seeker's car top speed isn't really what it used to be with some of the damage that they have to the front end and a little bit to the rear end. So they're just basically using the 91 car ahead of them just to pull them around the track, pull them down the Mulsanne Straight and try and get some competitive lap times back. There's the Thrustmaster Movano Racing HPD car. They're just going on the, well, down the inside of them during the Arnage corner right there. They'll just go through no issues. But Thrustmaster with iRacing HPD, they are the second place HPD at the moment. On the track, they are about 3 minutes, 5 seconds behind VRS Coanda SimSport last time by. They're still on the lead lap though. The only other car on the lead lap for the prototype build is the Core Sim Racing prototype, and they're just heading their way down the Mulsanne right now. That's Isaac Price behind the wheel.
It's interesting to see the Movano guys having a good run. I mean, they're doing pretty well in the championship right now, but every time I've had the joy to come and commentate on there, I've seen them getting involved in some incidents, more so actually the Radicals online car, which is currently running really well. They're running in 4th place. They were the last team in contention with a possibility mathematically of the P2 division. I mean, that's now gone, I think, given that we've passed the percentage, and it needed the top 6 cars to all crash out as the that was interesting there. Did you see the Backmarker Racing car just pull off to the right and let the 99 car through? That was interesting manoeuvre there.
Yeah, that was, and just looking at it, no, yeah, just Kim Salverson just pulling out of the way right there. I think they felt that they were holding up the Gathering Cheetahs GTS car, but in fact, as we saw from that particular message that we received from the GOT car, that they were just staying behind deliberately, and that was coming through the Ford chicanes right there. I don't think the Backmarker Racing car got a slowdown penalty, no, it just got out of the way. Well, didn't exceed track limits. All 4 tires kept inside the white lines during those 4 chicanes, so I'm guessing that was just a voluntary, I'm just going to get out of your way because there's no point.
We can test your theory now, Connery, can't we? See if the Gathering Tweakers car really is slow in a straight line, because of that Marker Racing car, we have the rolled reverse now. That's going to be in the slipstream, and already I can see, even out of the slipstream, the car is just reeling that 99 car in, so I think we'll probably see Kim. No, Kim's staying behind, and that's interesting for Kim because he will be losing quite a bit of time doing that, so I wonder how long he's going to stay there. I mean, we've seen that this Gathering Tweakers car through the corners is still pretty hot through the corners, so there's no issue there. It's just down the straights, and of course, again, this being Le Mans, a lot of the track is straights. So, again, we're going to see the 99 car pull up first chicane, and then we're going to see this 91 car just put them back in again.
Yeah, exactly, and well, on the first part of the Mulsanne right there, when Backmarker Racing just slowed up just to stay behind the GOT car, there was Keiko Shube in the Hockenfeld Core Motorsports GT1 car, who was the leader in that particular class, that was right behind, and Keiko Shube caught right onto the back of Kim Salverson just as Kim Salverson lifted off the throttle, so that could have been a very, very scary moment for the Core Motorsports car, but in the end it was all okay, managed to avoid that one. But last thing you want is a car suddenly slowing down ahead of you on the straight.
No, I mean, and as a driver of a faster class, you have to sort of anticipate these eventualities, because sometimes there's a little bit of miscommunication between you and the car in front. You see there, our leader, VRS Coanda, just passing our little back. But speaking about that, I mean, the reason why these guys are at the head of their classes, but in the GT and the P2 field, is because they're pros. This is their stomping ground. They know what they're doing. If you have to think of every eventuality that can possibly come up with a GT car, but sometimes you get chickens now. Sometimes you get a situation where GTs are a little bit slow going to a hairpin, or maybe a little bit offline, but you can usually anticipate that from quite far back.
There was a very strange noise going on in the background of your mic there, Jimmy. Do you care to explain?
Chickens.
Chickens?
Yes.
I did not know that you own chickens, Jimmy.
We own quite a few animals here, and unfortunately this is their noisy period of the day, so I'll go out there and see if I can soothe them with some sort of food or something.
Well, welcome to the zoo of Jimmy Broadbent, I guess.
Admission to $10, no refunds.
Ah, wow. We've got Will's Racebot Cat, and now we have Jimmy Broadbent Racebot TV Zoo. That's what's going on here. But then, well, Jimmy's actually gone now to try and soothe his chickens, but that has just left me on my own right here just for now. We have a driver currently in the waiting room right now. It's Frank Ferry. We're just dragging him in. So we just have Frank Ferry here of Acme Racing, and well, 18 hours, 50 minutes in at the moment. Frank, how's your race been going?
Guys, I couldn't be happier with these guys have done out here today. It's been an incredible run.
It really has for you guys. You're currently running in the 6th place in that prototype field, 4 laps down on the leaders, but you did qualify in 9th place, so that really is a fantastic run, shall I say. And how did the midnight hours treat you, just sort of the middle part of the race? Any strategy to be able to get through that, or were you just clean and consistent?
Well, actually, what we've benefited from is, you know, knock on wood, we haven't put a single scratch on the car the entire race. Over the midnight hours, we have an Aussie running with us, Bill Morton. So, you know, these were good times for him. And actually, to be truthful with you guys, I was in bed. I turned the team over to the guys. I think you've just jinxed yourself.
Sorry, Frank. I think you've just jinxed yourself because Acme Racing, your car, has just had a little bit of a spin coming out of Tetra Rouge.
Oh, goodness. Well, we don't want to say that no more. Oh, we've had a terrible race, man. We've been all over the place. I hope things get better.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get a replay of that one, but just as you were talking, Mike just had a bit of a spin coming out of Tetra Rouge, just got onto the Kibs. It's just a little bit too much to spin it towards the inside. But I'm happy to report, Frank, that he did not hit any barriers.
Yep, I'm actually looking at the replay as you speak, and you know what? Mike gets that mulligan because, man, that guy has been running some phenomenal laps all night. I mean, he has done a tremendous job. All the guys, Mark Schindel, Sam Fitzpatrick, Bill Morton. We've had Ben Cox and Jack Stiles working the race strategy box for us so that, you know, I didn't have to do that stuff. I got to tell you, couldn't be more proud of these guys. They've done a whale of a job.
Yeah, now what are the plans now towards the end of the race? Are you guys just looking to finish the race, or do you think there are any more positions to gain off of, well, for example, Radicals Online and Friction Simsport?
Yeah, we're looking at seven stints to the end, and Mike, Mark, and Sam will finish it out for us. It might be a reach to catch Friction, and I don't think we can. Obviously, if someone has a problem, we want to be able to take advantage of it. At this point in time, our focus is just keeping the people behind us. That's, you know, this would be probably the best finish this team's ever had in Neo, so that'd be very acceptable to me.
As long as you can stop spinning, as has just happened again.
Well, then I'm gonna have to go down there and give Mike a good old talking to. But like I said, he deserves some mulligans because that guy's did yeoman's work through the midnight hours, I tell you.
Yeah, well, we might just have to take the cameras off of your car for the moment just to try and give some of your luck back to stop those spins. But thank you for joining us, Frank. Any shout-outs before you go?
I just want to thank Neil and Eggle. I mean, this series is unbelievable. I don't care what anybody says, it's the best series on iRacing, including the iRacing series. These guys do a phenomenal job. You guys coming in do a great job, and also thank you to the unsung heroes, which are the marshals. You know, them guys are here, and nobody knows about them, sees about them, but they've been here for the whole race. So shout out to those guys.
The race control do a very good job indeed, and well, that was Frank Ferry as part of the number 19 prototype. That is the Acme Racing team, and well, they're running very, very well. Jimmy, higher than we've seen them race before in this series, so good job by those guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, these longer races are where you get the more, I guess you'd say, unlikely results. But again, it's a fantastic testament to these guys having a good run up in the 6th position. And I mean, I think we joined Mike at just a bit of an unfortunate time, bless him. But he seems to be up and running again now, no issues. Tyres may be a bit warm, but that's about it. Being told we have a 79 and 91 back together again, so we'll get to that for you guys. Let's see, Backmarker Racing, and Probatum. And we've got Julio Ornelas in the Probatum racing car. I'm wondering now if the time to stay behind has passed. Maybe it's time, maybe what Cam was saying earlier, maybe it's time to sort of get on with it now and don't be held up so much by this 91 car, because we're seeing again in any sort of straight on situation, the slipstream's coming into effect and the 79 car is getting close to the back of the 91, but through the Porsche curves though, I mean maybe the speed's a little bit different.
Well, maybe that is the case. We'll just have to wait and see. Is actually Julia just missed the apex a little bit coming through one of the curves of the Porsche curves right there, but you can kind of forgive that after, well, we've got 5 hours, 8 minutes remaining of a 24-hour race, so you can forgive some mistakes, can't you? But you can't forgive major ones like hitting that Alpine barrier.
I know when you're on the sideline, when you have a car out on the track and you aren't driving it, any time you are not in the car, it's just nerve-wracking because you aren't in control of what's going on. You have to watch that car go around, hope that the guy in it at the time doesn't make a little mistake, because it only takes a little mistake around here. I mean, especially at Tete Rouge. I mean, Mike was very lucky there. It's so easy to get on that inside curve and just get spat out into the wall. So again, Mike was lucky, and I'm sure that Frank won't enjoy me saying that, but yeah, I mean it's just a matter of trying to keep be consistent, but also be maybe a little bit conservative. I mean, you want to gain position, sure, you're a racer, you always have that racing instinct in the back of your head, but you over 24 hours, the sprint race mentality just does not work. And you'll hit someone, you'll hit a GT, you'll hit a wall, something like that, and you'll just end up losing more time than you would have gained. Maybe going a second lap slower. Sometimes it's better just to be that little bit slower and just be safer.
Yeah, but it's just saw backmarker racing run a little bit too wide there for my liking. Coming through Tete Rouge may have picked up the slowdown penalty. We'll just have to wait and see, but it actually doesn't look like they have. The gap has been relatively consistent here coming down the Mulsanne straight back to Brabham Racing. They've had some of the prototype cars come through that has just split them up just a little bit, and Brabham's risking losing the draft to backmarker racing here, which wasn't going to be the plan at all.
No, they won't want that, but luckily I've just had a quick look at their top speed. So number 79 car has about 8Ks or so outside of the slipstream over the 91 backmarker car, so I mean they'll be catching up in the straight line anyway, which also suggests that the 79 car is running a lower downforce setup as well. I mean, hitting 280Ks in these GT cars is pretty impressive around here, especially when you have to factor in the Porsche curves, which are these high downforced, high speed corners. So but I won't be surprised to see 79 pull back on to the end of this 91 car before we get down to Mulsanne corner.
I just want to quickly go through your race positions as they are at the moment in that prototype field. It is the number 1 car of VRS Coanda SimSport, currently leading at this stage in the race. Thrustmaster Movano Racing in P2, Court Sim Racing in that 3rd place, Radicals Online 4th place, and Friction SimSport will round out in the top 5 in the prototype class. Down in your GT1s, it is Huykensville Core Motorsports leading, as it has been for most of this race. They have a pretty substantial gap over SimRC.de Iris. VRS Coanda SimSport, your, currently leading Corvette, shall we say, in the 3rd place in the GT1 field. Thrustmaster Movano Racing GT 4th, and SimRC.de Crimson in that 5th place in class. In your GTS field, in fact, it is actually Team DFTBA, I believe, that's currently leading. Then followed by Team RSO, and then the Pure Racing Team GTS, your current championship leaders in that class. They're currently running in the 3rd place, but remember, these guys, Team DFTBA, Team RSO, and Pure Racing Team, they've been trading the lead pretty much because they're a little bit off cycles, so they just goes back and forth, back and forth. Core Sim Racing will be in the 4th place in class in the GTS field, and Thrustmaster Movano Racing, the only ones that can really challenge Pure Racing Team for the championship win, well, they're stuck down in 5th place at the moment.
Still going around though, that's the important thing. And I just want to quickly say just how impressed I am by this VRS Coanda 48 Corvette, the GT1, currently in 3rd place in the GT standings. We've seen that Corvette do things I don't think it's been possible doing the entire season. I mean, there was a point, I think back in about hour 12 or so, where I was just watching the stream, just seeing what was going on. And we got a nice onboard with the VRS Coanda car, and just seeing how loose it is. I mean, that car is set up to go fast, even over this 24-hour distance, and just how much effort the drivers are putting in to get this thing up into 3rd place. I think it's a fantastic effort from those guys, and it's great to see the Corvette running so high in Le Mans here.
Yeah, it is really great to see. Of course, Coanda very, very quick in that Corvette over the course of this season as well. They've become very, very close to winning a couple of races, but they're doing very, very well at this at this 24-hour race. Actually, they're just going to get held up a little bit behind SimRC.de Iris right there. They're just going to actually, this is going to be a battle for position right now. It's actually, we have a side-by-side count, 97 and the 71.
Yes, I do, and they also just got split by Isaac Price in that Core Sim Racing prototype as they are heading their way into Indianapolis right now. That is Maximilian Wenig. He has returned to his position in the cockpit of the Pure Racing Team GTS car, and he just overtook the Team RSO car of Stefan Jan. I imagine this is because, and yep, I am confirmed, that is because the PRT car ended up going to the pits, and those Mercedes have not as of yet, which means is we've got another prototype car. That's Acme Racing's Mike Theonson, as you guys were just interviewing. I imagine it was probably Frank Perry from the sounds. Frank Ferry was it? Okay.
Yes, it was.
So that's what it sounded like to me, but. So Maximilian Wenig having passed Stefan Jan, which means he now has a full pit stop on him. And then there is simply the matter of Team DFTBA. Mitchell de Jong is getting into the car for the first time since I started the stint that I'm currently on. Was way back on lap 206. So we can track that right back. Yeah, VRS Quintessence Sport getting its work, as well as the 97 coming in. That's Team RSO Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised there to see the RSO car coming out. I mean, didn't really put up a fight against the 71s. You don't really do that at the end of the stint. You sort of just let people get on with it. But what I found really interesting there, Cam, is how wide a line these GTs are taking into the Porsche curves. They're running right to the left of the circuit, almost running on the grass, get the best possible entry into the Porsche curves. And you could argue what better place to do that, because that's where the GTs are slowest on track compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, people have certainly found the time, and especially, it might not be on a typical racing circuit that you might get into. It might have, usage, a bit of rubber placed down, but even the preloaded high usage rubber is still not going to be representative of the lines and the braking zones that people are using. No matter how close they could be. The only time you really get to see this track with full marble usage or full rubber is in this, and I would imagine that lap after lap, after 18 hours and 57 minutes of doing this, that in fact that outside line is probably the grippiest part of it, and so by that means everyone's just pushing themselves further and further out.
It's one of the massive benefits of this sort of dynamic real road setup we have here, where the track develops over the course of the race, and if people are using that line on the outside, it will rubber in. If people don't use it, it won't rubber in. So, I mean, it's a great dynamic, and it just adds so much more to the driving, especially over these long events.
Yeah, and Connery, I mean, just on top of that, you also got the dirt getting ripped apart all over the racetrack, where parts of the racing surface end up getting completely covered. I mean, look at the exit of Mulsanne. I mean, it's an absolute beach on the right side of the track. I mean, you could basically create the Laguna Seca circuit if we kept going at it long enough.
Yeah, it's actually Mitchell de Jong in the VRS kind of number 1 guy. He's just going to come through on that beach on the right-hand side of the track. There's a similar situation coming out the final chicane as well, coming down the pit straight. There's a lot of dust and debris on the right-hand side of the track as well, and that could be interesting coming later on in the race. If some drivers want to go 2x2, trying to gain what positions they can, they'd have to run through all those marbles, all of that dust, and lose some grip on that outside line. But, if enough cars run through it, especially like the outside line of the Porsche curves, then they could start cleaning that sort of dust and debris and just push it further out onto the grass, onto the gravel, and then that becomes a more viable line again.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I don't think there's enough time in the race to do that, and nobody really is using that line. We only occasionally see it when a GTS car is getting out of the way of another car, and it's a rough ride, to say the least. But either way, for Thrustmaster Movano, they're just crossing the start-finish line right now, which means that VRS Carrera SimSport has officially a 2-minute and 52-second gap, which means that the Thrustmaster Movano car is going to be a lap down. And Jimmy, that's pretty telling of where Coanda's sitting right now. Especially seeing as that this is, well, quite frankly, their outlap. Oh wait, no, they're not. I'm 1 minute ahead, so they're 30 seconds, 45 seconds away from being 1 lap down.
Nearly. I mean, I mentioned before at the start of our coverage, and my coverage anyway, coming in, that I had the good fortune to be able to commentate on the first iRacing 24 hours, and it's a similar story. VRS Coanda at the front. They just seem to have this this sort of long endurance race that it's completely in there. It's their specialty, and we're seeing that here. And going a lap down at some tracks doesn't seem like much, but of course Le Mans, it's a 3.5 minute lap. So if you go a lap down around here, you're 3.5 minutes when the guy in front, which is at this point, it starts to become difficult to make that back on pace. So you have to sort of hope for the guy in front to have an issue of some sort. But the Movano guys will keep going around, as will the core guys. I mean, they'll keep going to the end regardless of what happens. So the pressure really is on VRS to convert what is now a decent lead and keep that going for the next 5 hours.
Yeah, absolutely, and Mitchell de Jong will have no issues with that, surely. Mac Backham, though, I have to say how impressive of a couple of stints he did. Almost every single lap of his was in the 333 bracket, a couple of 332s. Barely anything above that, so extremely impressive from Mac Backham. Now Mitchell de Jong is taking over, and his lap times, the previous, was fairly good. But I must tell you guys, the racetrack, on top of the rubber being different, on top of the dirt being different, the entire the weather is almost entirely different from when we started so many hours ago. I think I started at 11 o'clock Eastern. It is now at night. It is now 6 o'clock in the morning. In that time, it has gone from about 68 degrees Fahrenheit to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temperature has been increasing almost a degree an hour for quite some time now, and this is actually important to note because at the beginning of the race, I think it was 74, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it actually dropped down to about 68. So this is it's interesting to see how the realistic weather converts over the 24 hours. The wind, it's been basically coming out of the south, southeast, southwest this whole race, and it's been gusting anywhere between 5 mile an hour, it's up to 10 mile an hour, and then about 10 mile an hour up to 15 mile an hour. So Connery, it's interesting just to see how the weather is affecting this race. And I mean, going from, if you're an engineer, 75 degrees Fahrenheit to start, down to 68, up to 77, I mean, you really got to stay on this.
Yeah, exactly. The wind is actually going to gust up to about 12 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour it goes up to, coming 14 miles an hour from the south, in fact. It's actually going up every single time I mention it, now 15 miles an hour. So that's a crosswind actually coming from the south. That's going to go a crosswind across the Mulsanne Straight and, of course, the Pit Straight. So these guys aren't really going to benefit from it coming down the straights at all. But during the corners, during Mulsanne Corner and coming through the Dunlop Chicane, you can, well, these prototypes are probably going to feel that. Maybe not so much the GT cars.
No, perhaps not, but even these cars are at least aero important, as I believe. Friction Racing has just gone as fast as they have gone all race. No, okay. Not quite sure why you're blinking for me there, but okay, JRT. As they're, oh, you know what? I'm willing to bet that it's their laps coming off of averages. Okay, that's probably why their name's Flash. But either way, though, just looking at best laps overall for the race, in prototype, well, it's no surprise. The VRS Carrera SimSport has the fastest lap with a 3:29.3, and in the GT1 at the current time, I would suggest It is, no, actually, it's VRS Coanda SimSport with a 348. No, wait, hold on. SimRC.de Crimson has a 347.3, so I guess that isn't paying off for them, unfortunately. And then, of course, you've got all those cars down, so but yeah, either way, it's been a fairly great run of it. And I have to say, it's been really exciting to see these teams going. That team, Don't Forget to Be Awesome, has pulled into the pits. And the timing screen just needs to hurry up and catch up because it is giving me all sorts of information that is not accurate. Perhaps Thrustmaster Movano Racing and Team RSO are right with each other? Nope, not at all. So, all right. Well, either way, we'll peruse the track for some action, and I think in the meantime, guys, I think we're going to do our first edition, at least in this stint, of RaceBot TV Fan Immersion. It's, of course, for those unawares, that's where we take a couple of laps on board and showcase exactly what these cars can do. Let's see. Let's start with something thrilly. Let's see. Where's the Coanda car? Oh, nowhere even close. Where's Sim Racing for Holland? Oh, they've already crossed the start-finish line. Let's see here. Why don't we go on board with the Blackadder Motorsports car of Sven Kammertz, the number 67, as he comes off the final corner, corner number 38. His number 67 Corvette. We are going to be going on board for a couple of laps for RaceBot TV Fan Immersion. Chicane for the final time here for lap 293. Lap number 294 begins just like that. 38 turns, 8.47 miles. That is the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That is my dog. So thanks for that, dog, for telling us that it is indeed morning here in the United States and that she is going to be barking. So, Connery, good couple of laps from Sven Kamertz and that Corvette.
Yeah, had a little bit of a slide as well, and was a very good save from that particular driver. So what do we have? Like Raceport TV Cat, which is Will's. We've got Raceport TV Dog, which is Cam's. We have a whole zoo, which is Jimmy's. What else don't we have? Anything else?
Trying to think, nothing off the top of my head that comes to mind, but we have ample animals to keep you guys entertained, as well as, of course, awesome racing action. So, I mean, it's fun for all the family, really, isn't it?
well then. But, well, we're just going on to lap 319 for your prototype field. There's Mitchell de Jong in that VRS Clandestine Sport #1. He's just making his way through on a couple of bits of traffic right there. This is just some GTS traffic. He's currently making his way, through on basically, and well, it's been a relatively quiet race for VRS Coanda, and it's been a relatively dominant one for them as well. They're about, again, 2 minutes 48 seconds ahead of Thrustmaster Movano Racing, although over the course of the last couple of laps, Thrustmaster Movano Racing has been catching by about a couple of tenths a lap. But, well, they're going to need more than a couple of tenths a lap if they want to get into a position to challenge VRS Clandestine Sport at the end.
I mean, Coanda won't be worried about that at all, and I'm sure that'll be information that the pit wall was choosing not to feed to Mitch de Jong. That's something you don't want to hear as a driver, is oh yeah, this guy's catching you behind. You actually saw Mitchell taking quite a big lift, coasting into the first chicane, which suggests some sort of fuel-saving strategy there from these guys, which may be why Movano are starting to gain a little bit over the course of this race. But saying it's been a relatively quiet race for VRS, that's what you want as endurance. A nice, quiet, anonymous race where nothing happens. You just drive, do your laps, and that is the ideal race, of course. And it's going swimmingly so far. I've not seen them put a foot wrong so far, and again, we've even seen a bit of fuel saving now. So I think now VRS may be starting to look forward to the end of this race and starting to think about that strategy for the last hour and a half or so.
Absolutely, and for Mitchell, I mean, it's just straightforward running. This is going to be the second time he's been in the car for the entirety of the 24 hours. It's really just been Martin Kroenke, Mac Backham, and Marty Piatella with these two long stints from Mitchell de Jong, so I wouldn't surprise me if he runs this car for a very long period of time before probably giving it either to Mac Backham, Marty Piatella, or maybe even Martin Kroenke. It wouldn't surprise me if Kroenke finishes out the race. So Coanda pretty much has a fairly good time in hand, especially with Movano and Coanda basically being on the same stint length, and yet Coanda having a 2 minute and 48 second gap. There was a really good charge from Core Sim Racing in the middle of that, the last, I would say maybe 6 or 7 hours ago. There was a really good charge from Core Sim Racing. They managed to get it down to about 2 minutes and maybe 30 seconds. But after that, Coanda has just been getting it well in hand. And Connery, it's just been fairly exciting, I have to say, to see Coanda put on such a masterclass.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that we've just come to expect from that team now. They have Martin Grompe on that team, World Championship Grand Prix Series winner last time out, and he had a dominant display in the first couple of rounds of, the World Championship Series this season as well. But, well, if you have that sort of quality on that team, well, you kind of just expect to be doing well. And Mitchell de Jong, again, one of those very, very quick drivers as well, putting in some very, very fast laps. That time by, he was about 0.3 of a second faster than Thrustmaster Movano Racing. But again, that number 22, Core Sim Racing, they're putting in some very, very fast laps right now. They just keep dipping into the 3 minute 33s right now. Last time by, they did a 3 minute 33.9, whereas VRS Clandestine Sport did a 3 minute 35.7.
Yeah, and I mean, you'll actually look at their fastest laps. Isaac Price, he does very, very good runs. He had a very good stint a while ago. But Thomas Arends, though, had the fastest lap overall with a 3:30.689, if you believe it. And that was, maybe 6 or 7 hours ago, I'd have to say. But either way, yeah, your front runners in prototype, very, very interesting. And of course, then you go to your GT and GTS, and normally we end up getting to these about at the 45. But instead, we'll see if maybe we can just do at least a brief rundown of the top fives in each category for a brief moment. Normally we do that when we come back from fan immersion. Unfortunately, that was a little doggy impaired, but we're all good with that now. Either way, starting to take it all off, what we've been talking about the last couple of minutes, VRS Koana Sim Sports #1 Neo has been leading for pretty much the entirety of this race, not even trading with pit stops. 19 hours and 20 minutes ran, 4 hours and 38 minutes to go. They've been in control. They're the ones that are primed and ready to take the double points at the finish of this 24 Hours of Le Mans with a final round of the Neo Endurance Series Season number 3. Thrustmaster Movano Racing's in second position with 2 minutes and 46 seconds behind. Chorus Sim Racing is about 20 seconds behind them, maybe down to 15 now. Radicals Online running in fourth position. They are about 7 minutes behind Core Sim Racing. And then Friction Racing is about 1 minute and 30 behind them to finish out your top 5. In the GT division, it's the Heisenfeld Core Motorsports Aston Martin. And that car is currently running a very rare race of its own. Rarely challenged, if at all, over the course of today. SimRC put on a decent challenge, but it was very easily handed off and pulled away from about 19 laps off of your prototype field. That is the distance changed after over 300 laps in these GT cars. SimRC.de Iris car has really been the only one with speed to challenge Heisenfeld Core Motorsports, but they're still relatively far behind. It's about maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes between the two. VRS Koana Sim Sports, they are just about 3 minutes off the rear of your race leader. They are the fastest Corvette in the field, but they are the first car 1 lap down. Thrustmaster Movano Racing, they're in the pits right now. And they're running in the fourth position. Anders Dahl climbing into that car. Then SimRC.de Crimson, a very, very fast car that ended up picking up damage early on. Jurgen Frank currently piloting that, finishing out your top 5 there. Going to the GTS field, it's the Audi of Pure Racing Team's GTS car. They've got a lead over Team DFTBA. It is about 1 minute now, and they are almost a 4-lap split between their stint lengths. The Mercedes of the Team DFTBA and the Audi of the Pure Racing Team GTS. Those are your front 2 runners. Core Sim Racing GTS, the Thrustmaster Movano Racing, and Team RSO finish out the rest of your GTS field. As the whole of the field, it's still relatively all close together, I'd have to say. There are 4 cars on the front run, from about, let's see here, 5th back down to about 10th that are all on the same lap. Whereas your front leaders, you've got 2 on the same lap, and they've got another 2 on 1 lap after them. But really, this GTS field is surprisingly close, Connery, after all this time of racing. Just goes to show you what kind of field you're dealing with outside of that Pure Racing Team car.
Yeah, but they've all been very, very respectful, and that is, of course, reflected in the complete and utter lack of penalties that have been handed out over the course of this race. The last penalty by the stewards that was handed out was at about 10 to 5 this morning UK time, so that is around about 6 hours ago, and that was for avoidable contact with involving the number 32 car. But from then on, we've had some warnings for unsafe pit exits, for avoidable contact and track limits. But other than that, it's been very, very quiet on the stewards front.
And we've been much better off for that. Still have a ton of cars circulating. I believe the last couple circulating is the Radicals Online Pro-Am and the Van Devel Sim Racing cars. And that's way back down. I think the last one properly running is a Hellenic Racing NES car. That's 38, so that's 38 cars still running around this 8.47 mile, 38 turn Le Mans circuit. Just looking around right now, if you really want to find a battle, Jimmy, you typically have to look to your GT3 field.
It's been the closest field so far since I've been here anyway, and it's always good action with these GTs, always nice and clean, and fairly clean for the most part, of course. As Connery said, we've not really had many incidents so far, which is fantastic to see. I said before, a testament to just the competency of these drivers. It's very easy, especially over a 24-hour event, just to maybe nod off a little bit as you're going down the straight. And Le Mans is really bad for that because there's such long straight. You sort of have these moments to yourself where the brain turns off just to sort of conserve yourself for the upcoming corners. And sometimes it doesn't turn back on again in time, and you end up maybe having a little bit of a cheeky tap with the guy in front. But yeah, the GT field is the one to watch. We do have a couple of cars on the lead lap in the P2 field. The top three are, but the closest P2 battle I can see before for us now is between second and third, and they're a good 15 seconds apart. But we'll keep an eye on that and let you know if that does come down at all.
Absolutely, and we actually have Joad Caroni. And I, for the life of me, with how long I have been awake, cannot remember what team Joad Caroni actually runs with. But I know Joad Caroni, and I know that I should know what team he races with. So as I desperately try to find out which team he runs with, I don't think it's a prototype car. You know what? We'll just have to ask him. So we're going to bring Joad Caroni in to the racing broadcast, Race Spot TV broadcast booth. And JCL, okay, all right, well, bring him on in, and we'll get a talk to him to see what's happened to that car. As Joad Caroni joining us here in the Race Spot TV booth. Joad, just take me through your day here at the Neo Endurance 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Hello everyone. It was a really bad day for us yesterday. We crashed the car into the wall, and after the repairs the engine blows up, so we decide to leave the circuit. Anyway, it was cool to drive here for a couple of laps, and it's really bad luck, I think, because we pushed hard to come back in the points, and yeah, that's happened. So
yeah, and it's especially tough simply due to the fact that not many other cars have had trouble. So even if you guys continued, it really sort of the mountain grew very quickly. I was not here for the start of the race, but I noticed that the car was retired, as well as the one non-starter car. The only car that seemed to also have engine issues was that SimRC Emerald effort that had to retire as well. Not the way you really wanted to end this season, especially when the double points were on the line. But overall, though, I mean, the season as it was a fairly okay season. You had some good finishes at Sebring and a fairly decent one at Spa. Obviously, you wanted to get the good one here at Le Mans.
Yep, we done some good results, but you know, for the first time in the Neo Endurance series, it's like you are with the top of sim racers. So now we know what we're gonna do for maybe for the next season, if we can jump in. We have to focus the driving and the base. The principal stuff is this. After the setup, it's fine. It's really fine. We were in a good pace for this race especially, but yeah, the Neo is really special. It's like I don't know if I can compare this to the World Championship GT series or something like this, but it's really hard.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it absolutely pulls the best, and every single time you go out onto that grid that you're going to be dealing with some very, very quick drivers, and I think this one stings especially much so because would have really liked to have the French team, on the racing circuit in Le Mans for the first one, but I'm sure with how popular this seems to be and how the race seems to be going, that I would certainly believe that next season, for the next time for Neo, that they would certainly be doing yet another 24-hour Le Mans next year. I don't know for sure, but I would just presume, put 2 and 2 together that they would probably be interested in doing that. So hopefully then they can get you guys in there.
Yep, and maybe we're gonna have other driver because the team is growing up, and maybe other cars like GT1 or GT3 or GTS. And I would like to thank as well the whole organization of this event because they're doing an amazing job, and thanks to you as well to cover the whole champ.
Well, of course, we love doing it, and we know Neil loves putting on a good show, and of course we'd like it even better if you were with us, but that is racing. Things happen, and sometimes it's just there's only so much you can do. So racing can sometimes be a very cruel mistress, but as we know, especially here in iRacing, there'll always be another day and there'll always be another race, so we hope to see you then. So just want to thank you very much for coming into the RaceBot TV booth, and I'm sure we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you, bye.
And so that's Dorjoad Caroni. That was the number 27 JCL Sim Racing car. The day ended so very soon for that car, very unfortunately, ending over on lap probably 42 or 43, but was really retired on lap 44. Very unfortunate, but that's the cruel mistress of racing. So either way, Connery, I'm still looking at Mitchell de Jong, and he is just continuing to pull away from Thrustmaster Movano.
Yeah, he is, and I don't think there's really any stopping that VRS car and the number 1 car at the moment, well, except for extenuating circumstances, shall we say. But if they keep going as they are right now, then they're looking the very, very likely winners of this one. But we still have 4 hours, 26 minutes remaining. We don't have 26 minutes remaining, but it'd be interesting if we did and ended this early. But nope, 4 hours, 26 minutes. And VRS kind of looking very, very strong indeed. And you've just got to look at the quality of the drivers that they have to understand why they're so far ahead. You have Mitchell de Jong, you have Martin Gronka, you have Mac Backham, you have Marty Piatella, the 4 drivers that have got in the car for the moment, and probably only 4 drivers that will be in the car coming towards the end of this race. As Philip Stam is probably going to be their crew chief right there that's been guiding these drivers through this race. And yeah, as I've said, there's really no stopping them at the moment.
Yeah, I have a very good graph that I like to pull out every once in a while. It's fairly straightforward. If you can imagine it with me, it's a couple of horizontal dots and then a very vertical line going after that, and right where that dot ends on the horizontal plane and begins going up, I like to think of that as the moment that Hugo Louis retired, and ever since then it has just been world championships all abound in all sorts of different series, either in endurance racing or in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series. So yeah, as soon as they cleared Hugo away, I don't know what they did to manage to get him away. I think they hooked him up with some broadcasting gig somewhere. Ever since they did that, Coan, really has been an unstoppable juggernaut as far as sim racing goes. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugo Louis? Oh, no, he does a sad face. Okay, all right, I've saddened him.
Cam, he's probably going to mute you now, and the broadcast won't be able to hear you.
They couldn't afford. Yes, they could. Very easily, actually. But no, we love to insist on Hugo that we love him, and that we just have a very American way of showing that, I suppose. But either way, Hugo, you totally can unmute your microphone and talk. I know you can do it, because I heard you earlier in the race talking with Will. See, he won't do it. He's giving me the cold shoulder now. I guess we kind of have earned that one. Either way... oh, I see. So, either way, though, we are still ticking away here. 4 hours and 24 minutes to go here in the 24 hours of Le Mans here in the Neo Endurance Series. The final round, the double points round, and your leaders are, well, completely unchanged.
It's been a great run for Coanda. You can't really say much else, can you? Just been dominant. I mean, we said when you were away for a while, Cam, just having a quick break, just saying how an anonymous race is the best race.
Yeah, no, I was just waiting patiently. Either way, we have Jordan Jens, of all people, to interview. As I think what happened last time we started doing this was that as soon as you start interviewing one person, many start coming. So that this is actually a great time. So Jordan Jens, the Coanda number 48, the Corvette, here today in pretty much the Corvette of the day, running in 13th position overall, 3rd position in the GT division. Jordan Jens, how is your day going here at Le Mans?
Yeah, I mean, we had a tough start in the beginning. I kind of missed the start because I was busy doing things and no one reminded me. But I think we made a good return. We have a good race setup, which is helping us. We basically have a surface-to-surface missile on the straight, so we can deal with the traffic really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is really the first time. I mean, you guys had a good run at Spa for quite a while, and then of course here at Le Mans, you guys really seem to be able to at the very least contend with the Aston Martins. It's really kind of been a while since we've been able to say that. It's been a bit of a long season for the Corvettes, I think.
Yeah, we were struggling with pace for most races. Spa was very good. I mean, we had the pace to win the race, but were caught up in incidents, which costed us a potential winning in that race. And yeah, even also here we were speculating that the car would be very, very quick here compared to the Astons, but yeah, we are also lacking a bit of pace here. Like, I think half a second or something like that, we are slower compared to them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you've been following the weather per se, but when we started, I think it was somewhere around 75, and it dropped down to about 68, and it's now bounced back up to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what the Celsius numbers are for that, but the weather has been constantly changing, and I'm not sure which way that favors which car.
It does not really make that much difference for us. I mean, it mainly affects the pace of the car. Balance is the same. The car is difficult to handle, no matter what the conditions are. But yeah, we are still able to triple stint the tires. Maybe even 4. We have to see how we end this race, how it comes with the stints when we're coming towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and one of the big things that we've heard with all of the drivers is that a very large objective has been to keep the car clean. I'm looking around the Corvette. I see maybe perhaps a bit of right door damage, but for the most part, though, the car is for the most part completely clean. That's obviously a very large part of this if you have any hopes to really make any progress forward. And I think the big takeaway is that this race has been really, really clean.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of the track. Everything is spread out a bit more, and way better passing opportunities compared to the other tracks where we have been. That also helps. And yeah, of course, like you mentioned, it's very important to keep the car clean. We had only some minor damages from curbs, but everything is getting repaired at the pit stops.
All right, so I have to at least try to ask the question. What's the plan for the drivers toward the end of the finish? We're just about 4 hours away.
Yeah, I think Renz is now driving his last stint, and then we will get Klaus in the car. And yeah, we have to see after that, because it will be like four full stints, and then I think we are 2 laps short of making it to the finish. So maybe we will have another driver swap after that.
Either way, we wish you the very best as you guys are closing right on in. Sven Demmel in that SimRC Iris car. Is there anybody, Jordan, you would like to give a shout out to or a thanks to before we get back to the team?
Yeah, of course. Huge thanks to Renz, who did the main work on the setup for this week, and also to my mates Dave and Klaus, who are doing a very good job keeping the car clean and having good pace.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much for hopping in and having a conversation. We always appreciate it. We wish you guys the very best, and we hope you guys have a good finish. So we'll wish you the best, and hope you have a good run here at Le Mans.
Yeah, cheers. It's looking good, but unless a miracle happens, yeah, we can just hope to defend P3.
We'll of course be watching with interest. So thanks, Jordan, for coming into the booth with us, and we'll hopefully have an interview at the end of the race.
Yeah, cheers.
So that is Jordan Jens of the number 48 Coanda, the Corvette that has been cruising right around third, fourth, pretty much all race long, and has been trying to close in, at least currently, with the SimRC.de Iris car. Good conversation with Jordan. I had been hearing earlier on from Randy Chenoweth that some people were trying to triple stint tires. I just, unfortunately, with so much going on, with it being just me and Jake, I haven't really seen it. But apparently it's something they're casually doing. We'll ask Connery first, then we'll ask Jimmy.
Yeah, well, we saw some teams experimenting with it during the Sebring race that we had on iRacing just a couple of weeks ago. Just, I think that was in preparation, in part, for this race as well. So just see where the new tire compound, how that was playing around with the tire wear and the tire heating and all of that. I haven't personally seen people try to triple stint the tires. I wouldn't be surprised if some teams have tried it at some point in this race. Whether they've been successful or not, I don't know. But we've seen a lot of double stinting, and that seems to be where the optimal strategy is right now.
And Jimmy, your thoughts?
I think it's great that the teams are having that opportunity to go more than one stint or set of tyres with the triple stinting is very impressive around here. I mean, Le Mans is the place to do it. I mean, quite minimal tyre wear if you consider just going down the straights. But yeah, having those the opportunity to triple stint just opens up strategies so much. I mean, you'll see some teams maybe. I mean, we saw earlier with some of the VRS guys in the P2 just sort of saving fuel at the same time as maybe trying to save tyres, as not having a massively aggressive run into the chicanes there.
As that Coanda Corvette is closing right in on the rear of Sven Demmel. And that number 34, well, there's it's just going to be sitting there. I think Sven is doing a good job in the car. He seems to be having good, consistent lap times. And he seems to at least be trying to keep the car consistent. But that car has been running a bit faster. I think they probably are saving, Evan Merrill or Leonardo Corti till a little bit later in the run here. And really, I don't think it matters so much, Connery, simply because, at least let me look to the stint times. As their stint times, the SimRC.de Iris car is actually closing towards the end of its stint, whereas that Coanda SimSport 1 is finishing out the third lap.
Yeah, that seems to be the way of things right now. It's actually that SimRC.de Iris not going to come down pit road this time, so they're just going to stay out. And as I say, yeah, oh, there goes the SimRC.de Iris. In fact, just had a little bit of a spin coming into the Ford chicane right
good
there.
Recovery.
That was very unexpected. Yeah, good recovery from Sven Demmel right there, but that was quite unexpected. That was right in front of Rens Broekman as well, and Rens Broekman lucky to choose the right direction to go in towards the right-hand side of the track right there. But a little bit of a curse of the comet here. As we were discussing them, they have a little bit of a spin.
Yeah, that happens, but I have to say, for Coanda, that's twice now. There was an Aston Martin that had lost it and spun, actually approaching the first of the Ford chicanes, literally side by side to the prototype, and that was a Torque Freak Racing, and Bram Reniers was able to handle that car and actually get it straightened out going backwards and get it stopped without touching anything. So that's twice now that both Coanda cars have had a very lucky near miss, Jimmy, and sometimes you need a little bit of that when you're running around this racetrack.
Yeah, I can tell you there'll be a little bit of held breath there from Rendsburg. I'm sure as the Aston go right in front of them, but that's actually good for Coanda, because it now means technically they are on the same lap as the 34 car now, so no longer a lap down on those. So maybe we see a couple more mistakes like that from the 34 car. We might see this 48 maybe get into a position where on strategy it can challenge that second position. Right now it's there's nearly 4 minutes between the two, but on the same lap, which is very important in these longer races.
Yeah, it is, and just as time goes on, I mean, we talk like we're in the closing stages of the race. As far as the 24-hour race is concerned, we certainly are, but outside of that, we still have a lot of racing left to do.
Yeah, we do, and it's about 4 hours 13 minutes left, and we're definitely on the home stretch here. The vast majority of the race is behind us, and well, as I said before, it's basically the light at the end of the tunnel that your drivers are racing towards right now. But in terms of the battles for the lead of each of your particular classes, there's just relatively dominant leads, except for that GTS field, which has been trading back and forth between Pro Racing Team GTS and Team DFTBA. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top of that one after these 4 hours and 12 minutes are up. But in terms of the rest of your classes, though, VRS Sensible, as we've mentioned, very dominant. Huygens Local Motorsports perhaps even more dominant in their class than Coanda have been in the prototypes.
Well, I have not seen in the time I've been here Coanda being challenged, but I have seen that Core Motorsports car getting challenged by the Iris car, even to the point to where they actually had traded positions, I think, for maybe half of a lap. But then after that, the Core Motorsports car had made a very aggressive retake, and since then it has just pulled away ever since. Whereas in the GTS field, we constantly see that Team DFTBA and the Pure Racing Team GTS swap during pits, but they actually stay just about the same distance away each other over the course of the entire run, Connery, and when that happens, well, it sort of starts to get to the point that you start to worry, whereabouts is this little overlap going to land? Because the last thing you'd want is this overland to lap really at the end of the race.
But it would definitely make the end of the race very, very interesting indeed. So we'll have to see where those strategies kind of converge, as we do have your prototype leaders go on down pit road right now. VRS Coanda Simsport just on pit road, whereas First Master Movano Racing HPD, they are just coming off of pit road. So that's how much of a gap that VRS Coanda Simsport has right now. They're still scored ahead of First Master Movano Racing as they were entering the pit lane, as First Master Movano Racing was leaving it.
It's just how much of a gap that they've been managed to not just pull. It's one thing getting the gap, but keeping the gap for hour after hour and safely doing it, mind you. That is just a pure Coanda effort, I'd have to say. It's very, very typical of them. They get a lead early, and they just, well, they really, really, really like to maintain it and keep it. They don't really do a lot of unnecessary risks unless they start losing time hand over fist. But for the most part, though, a very, very great run so far put together by Coanda Simsport. But, Jimmy, it's not like we've got segment points. It's either all or nothing at the end of the race, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, saying that, Cam, I've just seen the 72 take the Core Sim Racing GTS. I think that's the third place. I think it's been the same lap. So that's third place in class there, battle on your circuit. And that was just going into Indianapolis, out braking there, now coming through Arnage. It seems that 72 car has the legs right now, so that's a battle for your podium. That's nice to see a battle that's so far up going on right now. I'm not sure where both these guys are currently in that pit strategy, so maybe one will peel off into the pits in a couple of laps' time, but that is an overtake on track for third position in the GTS class.
The Thrustmaster Movano Racing GTS car pitted almost, it'll be 2 laps this time by, and Core Sim Racing would have been pitted 1 lap this time by, so there's only a 1 lap difference, so this is most certainly a fight for position between Stefan Muljahar and Mike Polish. But while we watch this this very exciting battle, we're going to go see if we can get another GTS driver in here, Jean-Eric Hoffarth of the MSP Phoenix car, and we're going to give him an interview. And we're actually going to see if, Connery, if perhaps you would like to do the interview with the MSP Phoenix car and see how they are doing here in their 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, there's Jan-Eric Hoffarth of MSP Phoenix right here, and well, we've only got 4 hours to go, Jan, and well, how's the race been going so far for your particular team?
Well, basically, we had some serious fights with the Gathering of Tweakers and Pure Racing AMG for over, I think, 15 hours. That was quite intense, and we fought each other very hard, and at the end we had some better luck because we are actually tinting the tires by 4, so 4 hours on one tire compound is quite hard, but somehow it works. So yeah, we are happy that our car is in one piece still, and yeah, just looking for the end, and hopefully we will not have any issues until then.
Yeah, because that goes back to the discussion we were having. We were wondering if anyone was triple stinting the tires, but then you come in and say you're quadruple stinting the tires. That's quite an impressive feat.
Yes, well, I think it was in the evening when our sister car said, okay, we are trying to triple stint the tires and see how it works out, and as we slept a little bit because we only took tires, no, the first 2 hours we took tires at each stop, and then we figured out how it will work with the tires, triple stinting it, or even doing it with a 4 hours, and it's pretty tricky when the tank is full because the car is very twitchy, especially in the first 2 sectors, and even though the others, the Porsche corners are pretty demanding for aero and tires, but this is working quite well so far, and yeah, we all have the same pace and fine so far.
Yeah, you guys used to be, well, MSP Drivers Home number 85, and now you're MSP Phoenix Racing number 85, so you have some sort of partnership 83 going on there. 83, in fact, yeah, because you have 2 cars going, yeah. I was looking at the wrong one. But yeah, you have some sort of partnership going on with a real racing team then, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty big deal for us. Big shout out to Michael Obertries, who is a very nice MSP driver, and together with some other dudes from our team, we figured out and did well. And Mr. Moser from Phoenix Racing said, well, okay, let's do it, let's try it out, and so it happened. So we are now MSP Phoenix Racing, and now the car is green a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just fantastic for sim racing as a whole, getting these real teams into the little esport that we have here, just to try and promote it further. And it's absolutely fantastic thing to see. And before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anyone else?
Big shout out to my teammates who did a lot of effort to put the car down and set it up quite well. So I am really happy with my teammates who did so well, and each new race it's just how to say it, it was just nice to see that in endurance racing it's not up to your starting position but consistency. So for example, in this race we were 11th, and then at the moment P7. That's a really nice achievement for us in this huge field with a lot of very high-class drivers. And yeah, shout out to my team, shout out to our other sponsor IAL, which is a little mobile shop from our friend. And yeah, shout out to our new partner MSP Phoenix, and to our sister car, who have some troubles but also doing well so far.
Well, that was Jan-Erik Hoffath of the MSP Racing Phoenix number 83 car, currently running 7th in class. And well, while we've been talking, we've just been watching the battle between the number 88 and the number 72 cars. That is Core Sim Racing GTS, just getting ahead of First Master Ravana Racing GTS car on the Mulsanne straight right there, Cam.
Absolutely, and amazing battle, Jan, by the way, with those three Mercedes, myself and Jake Blackhall really enjoyed that as well. Here comes the Audi once again. The Thrustmaster Ravano GTS of Stefan Moljahar is coming across, as this is now the second time in this lap they've passed each other. So that's that Movano GTS car and that Core Sim Racing GTS machine as they work their way towards the Mulsanne corner itself. And it's interesting here, we'll see if one of these cars attempt to make a pass here, which is always tricky to pull off at this stage of the race, simply because you'll see how filthy the right side of the track is, almost to where it's impossible to try to make that maneuver. They'll go down through the gears, down to 50 miles an hour. You see how dirty the right side of the track is. Very, very difficult to try and make a pass, Jimmy, and for the most part, you can kind of get that straight away, but you really have that line taken away at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be very slippery out there. I mean, these cars do have traction control, but even so, you're going onto that slippery line. The traction control is going to have to work overtime to try and get you out of that corner. It isn't going to be a fast route through there. And again, the Core Sim Racing car looking to the outside there, thinking better of it. I was sort of thinking maybe they are just running together right now, maybe for the purpose of just saving a little bit of fuel. But this is the third place in the GTS class, so it isn't just a matter of maybe running the person in front. Again, we are still a long way from the finish. We're still over a blank pane race from the end. Yeah, you've got to think of it that way. It's still a long way to go, but we won't be seeing any sort of crazy moves. I mean, we saw coming down to the Mulsanne corner that the Core Sim Racing GTS car had the run going down into Mulsanne, but chose not to do it. But we'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep as it's developing, and as you said, Cam, luckily they're both pitted within quite a short time with each other. So this is going to be battling until one of them pits, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think we're going to take this moment. It's just about top of the hour, so this is what we're going to do as cars are continuing to work their way through and figure out their way through the race. We are going to take you Race Spot TV side by side. You're, of course, watching the Neo Endurance Series finale here, the 24 Hours of Le Mans with the Neo Endurance Series here on iRacing Live and Race Spot TV. Stick with us.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways. So the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners, and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 Wing Sprint Car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack. And then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Welcome back to the finale here at Le Mans. It is the Neo Endurance Series. You're watching sections hours 18 to 21 here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Hello everybody, I'm Cameron Walsh with Connery Maddock and Jimmy Broadbent to bring you up to the 3 hour to go mark. And from then we'll get it off to Will Vincent and the rest of the crew. Hugo Louis also doing all of the production and all the goodies. As yes, dirt is almost here. It'll be 3 days from now, March 29th. We're going to be getting the full slew and gambit of dirt oval racing, and I think it's safe to say we're all excited about that. But whilst we are excited, we must put that aside because we have got a good one here at Le Mans. Of course, it's the Neo Endurance Series. As far as I'm concerned, the highest peak of there is as far as endurance racing that is simulated goes. So with that, we will get right back into it. Top 3s in your classes. It's still VRS Coana SimSport after 20 straight hours of motor racing. Thrustmaster Movano Racing about 2 minutes and 17 seconds behind. Core Sim Racing 2:49 behind. Heisenfeld Core Motorsports, they are currently have been leading, and all sorts of other good maneuvers, good pits, good times, good rolls with it, and they have been having a straight, well, it's been a fairly straight and easy race for them, I'd almost say. I keep trying to put that SimRC.de Iris car into some point of contention, but really, it just hasn't really had any answers for the fleet of drivers that Heisenfeld Core Motorsports is able to put on, especially once Kei Kashubi came into the picture. VRS Coana SimSports number 48 Corvette, of whom we just spoke to Jorn Jens, is running also in 3rd position, the highest running Corvette. Sim Racing for Holland has gotten past Torque Freak Racing, by the way, so we have actually got Aston Martin, Corvette, Aston Martin, Corvette, Aston Martin, Corvette, and so on and so forth, which is a very good thing to see here for the finale. The car of Pure Racing Team number 71 is currently leading in GTS, as it has for pretty much all day long. Team DFTBA, Core Sim Racing GTS, and Thrustmaster Movano are all interested in possibly trying to keep up with them. Team RSO, something must have happened to that car with some damage on the front end, and they were running in 3rd position. Now they've cycled back quite a bit into 5th. So right now, that's just a quick and dirty rundown of where the cars lie. Let's get right back into it. It's Neo Endurance action on RaceBot TV. Connery, that's a good thing to say.
Yep, it really is. And as we've mentioned many times before during this part of the broadcast, we're on the home straight, and it's only a couple of hours to go now. Just shy of, well, just under 4 hours to go at this moment in time. We'll be heading into the last 3 hours in, 50 minutes time, pretty much. And, it's been a pretty interesting race, pretty clean race, and, just going to be interesting to see how this one ends when all the strategies converge on each other. I'm just looking at our little hashtag that we have going here, IRNeo. I've basically been doing the social media throughout this part of the broadcast. And SRN Motorsport says another front runner tags the outside wall in the Porsche curves. Grants are, at Daily Sports Car, Aston Martin, another position, P5 with 4 hours to go. And Fusion Racing are just mentioning 4 hours remaining and looking good to run to the end, maintaining our position. Still looking like we may get that overall top 10. So, that'll be good for those guys.
Most certainly, and I have to say, I spy with my little eye a vertically striped blue and white helmeted driver in a Team Chimera car, and in that prototype as it was pulling away, and it is none other than Jack Keithley. Jack Keithley, whom of course opened up this race and has done stints since then. It has been a while. The last time he was in the car was lap 156. So much has happened since then. But Jack Keithley, he is ready to push that number 24 prototype as far front as he can. And Jimmy, you got one of the fastest prototype cars, and currently he's about a minute behind Acme Racing, and he's about 4 minutes and 49 seconds behind Friction Sim Sport with about 4 hours to go.
I mean, what better driver to have in the car for that, I guess? Get Jack in there, send him out to try and ravage the opposition and see how far he goes at this point. I mean, it's been an up and down season for Chimera. They had a really nice start to the season, even taking a win, I think it was at Sebring, and it's just not really. Again, it's a story of what could have been really for that 24 car. I mean, there were lots of opportunities to move up in the standings, but just didn't have the best of runs. But still, as you said, just evidently a very fast car, just not quite the right luck this season.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of Team Chimera, always low on luck, it seems. There's always seems to be an incident that claps them that they really had nothing to do with, or something happens that you just kind of have to throw your arms up and just stay just alongside them. But for the most part, though, they're having a good 24-hour of Le Mans. They started in 8th. They're currently running in 6th. And they've been, I think, all over the board as far as positions go. They are 4 laps down from VRS Quana, so I have to say that is out of the picture. But they can still salvage a very good finish, especially Connery with the double points at risk here.
Yeah, exactly, and they just have to be just a little bit careful. I mean, we've got Team Chimera, Acme Racing, Fusion Racing all on the same lap at the moment, just 4 laps down on your leaders. And, there's no other group of cars that are on the same lap as numerous as that is. Well, actually, I'm a little bit wrong here. GTS field, there's a couple of cars on 37 laps down. Pure Racing, Team SRN Motorsports, Pro Baton, Backparker Racing, and the Gathering of Tweakers, if I can get my pronunciation right. GTS number 99, they're also 37 laps down, so a good deal of cars on the same lap right there in the same class.
Yeah, and Nicolas Jalm is currently driving that. Backmarker Racing and Pro Bottom Racing, piloted by Julio Ornalios, and they're working their way through. They're not that far, actually, behind the SRN Motorsports orange car. They can actually all see each other, so if they close up, it'll be another 3 Mercedes car battle, and you'll see exactly what I was alluding to earlier in the race, about how there was this 3-car AMG, Mercedes, whatever you want to call it, battle that was extraordinarily entertaining to watch, Jimmy. And if these guys are able to catch up to each other like that, wouldn't surprise me. The lap times seem to support it, though. SRN, I believe, has just came out of the pits. So they'll be trying to get their first good lap done. But when you can see that other driver in front of you, it tends to make you go a little bit faster, doesn't it?
It's such a good motivator. There's nothing like seeing an opposing car getting slightly closer as you go down the straight. Gets us thinking, right, okay, I'm putting in good laps, I'm doing good pace. If I keep this up, I can make up a position. And as you said, we had a really great GTS battle earlier with the Mercedes, and we also, when I was watching last night, had a fantastic battle with a couple of Astons as well. And I mean, it'd be great to have this back again. I think it's hard to understand what Probatum are really doing here. I mean, I'd go as far as saying there's some fuel saving strategy there, which for the end of the race might propel them above this battle, which might be their end goal. But of course, we keep saying this. We have a while to go, so maybe getting too involved in this sort of incident or this sort of battle isn't the best idea. But again, there's a flip side to that. If you are being slowed up, there's no point just sitting behind another car. But these cars coming together nicely, which should be a nice little battle for us to watch. So we'll watch this develop with eager anticipation.
Yeah, it's the 91 and the 90 and the 79. Shall we say, they're very close together. Backmarker Racing, Probatum Racing. Probatum just going to get the run down the Mulsanne here, but I think if history is to repeat itself, they're going to back out. Yes, I would be right about that. They're just going to back out, heading down into Mulsanne corner, so it's probably a little bit of fuel saving out there going on for Julio Ornelas in that 79 car, and well, if he wants to make the pass, he certainly seems capable of it, but he's just choosing not to at the moment.
I'll tell you what, we'll put ourselves in the cockpit of the 79 mentally. That isn't a cue, Hugo. You can go there if you want. It's up to you. But you're in the car, Connery. You're in this 79 car. You're sitting behind this Backmarker Racing 91 AMG Mercedes. What's going through your head right now? I mean, are you thinking about that overtake? Are you thinking about maybe the idea of just slipstreaming and saving fuel? I mean, drivers nowadays are pretty much are praised for how much they do in the cockpit. But what will be your experience, Connery?
Well, since I have never done a race of this length before, well, at least a complete one. I mean, I was part of a team that started a Spa 24 hours, but didn't end up finishing it. At this stage in the race, there's probably multiple factors that are going to be factoring into that sort of decision. I mean, are we good on fuel to the end with our current strategy? I mean, where are we in terms of our position compared to other cars? And I think right now, the only way that the Probatum Racing guys have to be considering, if they want to get ahead, they have to try and break that draft first of all. Otherwise, they're just allowing Backmarker Racing to save fuel behind them, and that won't be ideal at all. So if they have the pace to get ahead of them and break away, then they might go for that. But if they can't, then probably the best option is just to stay behind and feel safe.
It's really interesting, I think, to try and put yourself in that perspective, because it gives you a whole new understanding of what these guys are going through. I mean, my theory is that the Backmarker Racing car is just running a bit more downforce, and whilst downforce isn't as big a factor in these cars as it is in perhaps the HPD or more downforce sort of centered cars, we're seeing down the straight the Probatum Racing car just being faster by about, last time I checked, it was about 7 or 8 k's a straight line. That's outside of the slipstream. But maybe through the corners the car isn't quite set up as nicely as that 91 Backmarker Racing car. So it might just be a case of setup. I mean, there might be some very deep strategical thought going on back on the Probatum Racing pit wall, but it's the great thing about endurance racing is you get to sit down, you get to watch these stories develop. So again, we'll watch this one with anticipation and see what these guys are up to.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at the relative timings from the perspective of Probatum Racing, is they're actually in danger of losing the draft here to Backmarker Racing, which won't be good at all. But they're currently around about 9/10 of a second and closing to Backmarker Racing, and then ahead of them, only 5 seconds down the road, is the SRN Motorsports car. So SRN Motorsports may be getting involved in this battle, getting caught from behind relatively soon. I'm just going to have a quick look at lap times here. SRN Motorsports did a 4 minutes dead 0.3, and that Backmarker Racing car did a 4 minutes dead 0.1. So these two cars are catching that SRN Motorsports orange car. SRN Motorsports have a little bit of front end damage that may be affecting their straight line speed coming down the Mulsanne straights, but they're heading their way down into the second Mulsanne chicane, the Michelin chicane, whereas Backmarker Racing are just heading onto the entry to that one now. So this battle is closing up, and we may be seeing again a 3-car AMG Mercedes battle.
I think so. I think that is definitely the cars. Not a massive difference in that time, but when the lap is this long, That does come down that little bit quicker, especially when you have two cars sort of drafting together behind you. The real winner in all of this, in terms of fuel, is going to be that Probatum car, because I just looked back on the straight again on the before the first chicane, and the Probatum car just has, even outside of the slipstream, about 7 or 8 Ks over the car in front. So he's really just cruising when he gets into the slipstream behind there. You see how much he gains coming down into the Mulsanne corner, but then sort of it expands again as a couple of HPGs make their way past. And one of the nice things about this track is, for the most part, I think this is probably the narrowest part of the circuit here, coming down to Indianapolis. For the most part, there's a lot of room for these overtakes to happen, which is meaning so far, Connery, we've had not many visits to the stewards. It's been quite a quiet day for the stewards over the course of 24.
Yep, it really has. I'm just watching these relative gaps on my timing just fluctuate up and down. Thankfully, these relative times are actually working for me now, because the first part of this little commentary stint I've been doing, the relative timings weren't actually working for me on my third-party timing app. But now they are, and I can see these gaps fluctuate in and out in real time, and they are slowly but surely catching SRN Motorsports. The gap when I last mentioned it was 5 seconds. Now it's down to around about 4.8 or so. So it'll be very exciting if these guys can close back up together into that 3-car Mercedes pack that we saw before in this race. Looking at some of the other classes, though, again, it's been that one car up front pretty much the whole of this race. The VRS car, since number 1 Neo car. And Jimmy, you want to mention that Van der Waal thing?
Yes, a little bit of information that's been passed on to us is that the Van der Waal car at this current rate is looking good to hit 70%. In terms of race distance. I mean, apparently it's very tight. Apparently there's about 3 minutes either way. So if there is a mistake that costs about 3 minutes, that's that. And the significance of hitting the 70% marker is that they will score points. And if they don't score points, again, it's the information we've had passed to us, they're in danger of losing about up to 3 championship positions. So even though the Van der Waal car is way off the back, it isn't going to be contending with anyone else in terms of pace and position. It's still a race for them to get to that 70% marker, so hopefully they can do that for their sake, of course, but they have to have a pretty much clean race until the end now.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the championship standings right now, and well, in that GT1 field, Van der Waal Sim Racing currently in that 5th place in the championships. Well, they definitely haven't had a great race here at Le Mans, but behind them, in terms of championship competitors, Phoenix Motorsports is the closest one, but I don't see... Well, Phoenix Motorsports are only just a couple of places, actually only 1 place ahead of Van der Waal Sim Racing at the moment. That's not going to be enough to close the points gap between themselves and Van der Waal Sim Racing. And the next closest competitor is going to be SRN Motorsports, in fact. And they are quite a few places ahead. But again, if Van der Waal Sim Racing do not manage to get this, well, we're going to call it the 70% rule, then they might just lose all those championship positions they've been working so hard to get. Because they've had like fantastic results at both Circuit of the Americas, Motegi, and they got that race win, remember, at Spa. So that was a fantastic moment in their history for that Van der Waal Sim Racing team. This one, not so much.
No, I mean, and you can argue it's the worst place that could possibly happen is at Le Mans, especially, of course, we've mentioned a couple of times now, double points up for grabs here, 40 points to the winning car of each class, so a big haul of points to be taken. And just watching the Van der Waal car now going around, Santeri kicking in the car at the moment, and it's very hard to keep motivation when you haven't got a goal like that in mind. I mean, right now, all that the Van der Waal guys will be thinking about is just that end of the race. They don't care about anyone else's race right now. They know they're far down the order, and all they're thinking about is getting to the end for that 70% rule. So it's good to have that motivation, because otherwise it can be quite difficult when you're that far back to continue and keep putting in the laps you are.
Yeah, just massive props to Santeri Heikkinen and the rest of the Van der Waal Sim Racing drivers for just keeping that car going in the face of adversity. You have drivers like Matti Kelly-Zoja, Niels Sinkowski, Joachim Svensson and Juan E. Lopez all have driven at some point for that Van der Waal Sim Racing team. Well, this stint is actually the first ever stint in this race for Santeri Heikkinen. So let's see what he can do on this stint. He's a couple of laps into it already, around about 6 or 7 laps. And his pace has been relatively okay. He's compared to his teammate Neil Santowski, running pretty much identical lap times to him. So he's gotten used to this car and the way the track conditions are very quickly.
Always impressive around here, given that the track is constantly evolving. Of course, you might be able to see it in your screens, these massive dark black lines on the circuit to the outside of the rubber there, the marbles building up there on the outside line. And the thing that you don't really get to see in the commentary booth, well, you feel it definitely when you're driving, is when you run over those marbles on the outside of the circuit, the car does not really react very well to that. It pretty much skates over the top of them. So it's almost like having a drying or a wet line. You have to make sure you keep to a certain line. And it just adds another level of immersion, another level of challenge to what is already a very difficult event for these guys.
Yeah, and it comes back to what I mentioned before, is if there are any battles going on for position coming into the last stages of this race, into the final hour, where those battles really, really do matter, because it's so close towards the end of the race, so close to that checkered flag. If you go 2x2 racing through some parts of this track, one of you is going to be on that dirty line. It's going to be on the dust and the marbles, and you're going to have a huge disadvantage.
You are, and again, that's just another part of the challenge round here. It's really awesome to see that this has been implemented into iRacing, having this dynamic track environment. It basically means that no 2 laps are the same in terms of the driver's perspective. Of course, you sort of get to learn where the grip is, where the rubber is, and we mentioned before, Cam, on the entrance to the Porsche curve, you go right to the left-hand side. People are running that extreme left-hand line, preparing for the first right of the Porsche curves, and as a result, that line right to the left now is all rubbered up.
Yeah, and just as how lines have evolved and different drivers have evolved, it just goes to show you just how people do it. And of course, the line does change over time as well, not just as far as the natural progression, but some drivers prefer to take their car a specific way. Some drivers have run a certain anti-lock, ABS system or traction control system, stuff like that. Uses a different amount of throttle on the exit, so even the rubber they're picking up, they're not necessarily putting down, as the Core Sim Racing GTS and Thrustmaster Movano GTS are still going at it. And that's of no surprise there. This is for what will be the 3rd position in GTS. They cross the start-finish line as Mike Polish is leading Stefan Mulzahar. These guys still going at it, Connery. It is very good to see that. Meanwhile, while they do that, I'm going to continue to look around to see if I can find some more action.
Well, I kind of want this fight that's currently going on for 3rd place in your GTS field to carry on until the end. That would be a fantastic grandstand finish that these guys could possibly give us if it comes down to that, but they're going to have to stay this close for the next 3 hours at least to give us that.
Yeah, and that would, well, we've seen different battles rise and fall. And I do feel for Team RSO. They picked up damage at some point, not quite sure when or where. Just looking through it. No, there's no protests involved, so it must have been a solo incident, either for Manuel Sadao or Stefan Jan. I believe it was Manuel Sadao. So unfortunate for Team RSO, but you know what? They've worked their way up the rank so much that they're in 4th position. Shinya Machimi is closing, but they themselves have damage, so who knows what was going to happen. So either way, that big Mercedes battle, it's more of one of those maneuvering ones, isn't it, where everybody is just far enough to see each other, but not close enough to draft. Jimmy, and that's it's almost a frustrating one to be a part of, because nobody can really do anything other than gain a 10th here or lose a 10th there.
I mean, endurance racing after all just becomes like a game of chess, really. It's all about strategy, being in the right place at the right time, having your car in the right place relevant to the guys in front. And right now we're seeing that with the Thrustmaster Movano number 72 car, just perfectly content to sit in the toe of this number 88 Core Sim Racing car and just save a bit of fuel. We always talk about fuel saving here in the broadcast, but it's it's a big ask to go an extra lap around here because it isn't like maybe a small circuit, for example, I don't know, like maybe like a Brands Hatch GP where the lap is a minute and a half. Round here, lap times for the GTS class are around 4 minutes as an average. So having to save that extra 4 minutes of fuel is definitely a big ask around here. So any opportunity to sit in the slipstream, maybe get off the throttle a little bit in the straight line, maybe coast a little bit into one of the chicanes. That's going to be the teams are going to be all over that. You see now Movano getting right up to the back of the core car, but perfectly content to sit where they are for now.
And I think that's fairly understandable. Don't want to show your cards too soon. For me, I don't necessarily think it's a fuel thing. I mean, if we're just looking at straight up pit stops, let's see here. If we're just looking at straight pit stops, we ended up looking at, they should be coming in relatively soon. That Movano car came in a lap earlier, but it had a much shorter pit stop. So that Movano car clearly on used tires, and what that means is that potentially Stefan Mujahar will be getting new tires, and Mike Powich will then be the one that is now seated on older tires as the time goes on. So this could go back and forth, Connery, and that's a beautiful thing about it. But with 3 hours and 33 minutes to go, your engineer or whomever does that work really needs to start calculating these numbers back to figure out just when your pit stops are lining up to when the race is going to get over.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that Thrustmaster Movano are on their quite old tires at this moment in time. Probably didn't take tires last stint, and we've also just seen when we talked to the MSP Phoenix team, they were actually quadruple stinting their tires, which I've never heard of any team doing that before, but they're doing it, and they're running quite well. In fact, they were the MSP Phoenix Racing 83 car running very well in that GTS field at the moment, so they're doing very well, even though the strategy is quite a unique one, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, tire usage was at a low. Randy Chenoweth was telling me as they were trying to, we're really trying to push the limits of the tires. I mean, teams have been they've been basically keeping the tires bolted onto those things as long as they will last. I mean, really, what do you need out of the tires? Stability, which here at Le Mans, I think you can fairly understand there that you can get. A lot of corners are slow, 50, 60 miles an hour, so it's not like, a Circuit of the Americas or a Sebring or something. And you need a lap time, repetitive lap time, and when you get repetitive lap time, lap after lap, well, you keep on trucking with those tires, and I mean, I think it's just whenever it fits into your strategy, Connery. But for the most part, though, it's kind of been one of those things that you have to discover, really.
Yeah, it really is. And I just want to bring the discussion to something we perhaps haven't mentioned much during the course of this race, and that is the extra entries that we have to this race that come from the Gathering of Tweakers series, which is basically a support series for the New Endurance series, but in recent times it's basically become a premium series in its own right. And one of those teams that have come from that particular route into this race, and that is going to be Sim Racing for Holland, number 51 car. They're running very well indeed at this moment in time. They're running 6th in that GT1 class in that Corvette. Rudy DeWitt behind the wheel of that one. They have the Coanda Corvette ahead of them, but they're a couple of laps apart, so that is definitely not for position. But they're running very well. Another one of the another one of the teams that entered into this race through the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series is the other Pure Racing Team GTS car, Pure Racing Team GT3, and they're running relatively well as well. Rico Skamensic. Sorry, I'm going to absolutely butcher that pronunciation, so sorry, but behind the wheel of number 81, he's running very well as well.
Maybe they're already lining up for that Corvette photo. That is not what's happening. But yeah, that Sim Racing for Holland car, that has really turned around in the last couple of stints. Actually, Rudy DeWitt is probably the fastest out of whomever was driving that, a 3:45.4 is the fastest that Sim Racing for Holland car has gone. Where a 3:45.3 is how fast the Coanda car has gone, so that its fastest lap is really within a tenth of Coanda's fastest lap, and really they've turned that Corvette, that Sim Racing for Holland Corvette around, and are doing a good push right now. Will they attempt to pass Klaus Kivikas? Well, we'll have to find out, as the number 31 car, which should be a GT car, the Thrustmaster Movano Racing GT, has apparently had an incident, Jimmy, going into the Porsche curves at some point. Anders Dahl was the pilot of that car, and I'll go and I think we'll both go and try to figure out just what has transpired to that number 31.
Just as that information passed to us there, and there was James King driving that car at the time, I think, or the last time I looked anyway, I should say, sorry. But he was running pretty well, but obviously made a mistake somewhere, and the worst place to make a mistake around here is at the Porsche curves, because absolutely, you get your line wrong through there, it's just a compounding factor, and you end up having a spin and having a massive accident. And we saw a couple of years ago one of the Audis in the real life one having a massive crash through the Porsche curve. Obviously a little bit more to do with the aero through there, but still a very bad place to have it. Just having a look back through our replays now, so we didn't get that information for you guys, but that's very sad for the Movano guys, having a crash this near to the end of the race. We'll go on, Connery.
Yeah, just going through the Porsche curves, as that information that's passed on to us has said, they just hit the outside wall. I'll try and get the timestamp of when that happened to our director here. But it was quite a heavy impact with that sort of safer barrier style barrier on the outside of the Porsche curves. It was Anders Dahl behind the wheel of that one when that happened.
Yeah, and that's very much too bad. Anders Dahl, normally an extraordinary pilot with the I believe it was the Corvette originally, but he's a good hand in the Aston Martin as well. So unfortunate that Aston Martin has to have that issue, and they're going to repair it, I'm sure, and see what they can get. Not much more they can fall down, though. Really, perhaps they might actually call it. Not much more you can do. Of course, I'd say stick with it, get it repaired, but if it takes 20-30 minutes to repair, you're basically at that point just counting on somebody else spending 20-30 minutes to repair, because Connery, I mean, it's gotten to the point where everyone is so close that either you're going to retire or you're going to have a good finish.
Yep, exactly. It's definitely getting into that stage of the race, and I don't know if we've had a silly hour yet, but I didn't watch like sort of the middle of the broadcast because I was fast asleep. But well, if it hasn't happened, then we've still got that to go.
Yeah, and just as we're trying to get our cameras pointed towards the incident in question. But overall, it just it seems relatively difficult, you know, to have something like this happen to that Movano car. But I guess that's just part of the nature of the beast of racing. And yeah, Hugo Louis managed to find it. Very good. Well, as you're seeing the replays right now, you can just see Anders Dahl. He's going through the corners right now, and he gets a little bit of the curb. See, the rear just kicks out. It's almost like the radius wasn't big enough. He bounced off what looks like is basically a safer barrier, and the safer barrier ends right when it doesn't seem like it should end, and it goes right into the Armco barrier. Jimmy, that's a tough lick.
It's a very unfortunate incident. I mean, as we just said, to have an incident this close to the end of the race, I mean, 20 hours elapse and then that happens. It's a real kick in the teeth for those guys. Hopefully they can get it repaired and get it back out to bring it across the line, but any sort of decent result now is going to be down the drain for those guys, so really tough on the luck there for that 31 car.
Yeah, very, very much so. Well, speaking of the other Movano car, 2 minutes and 10 seconds down from your VRS Coanda SimSport car. And it's still, of course, Heisenfeld and Pure Racing Team in the other categories. Just overall looking for potentially down the list, it's a bit tough to try to find something, I think, and I'm thinking perhaps there's a pair of GT cars that are close together, but I guess in the meantime we'll just keep our eyes on Klaus Kivikas and Rudy DeWitt. They seem to be sticking together, even though they're not fighting for a lap per se. I guess Corvettes stick together.
It's really interesting to see how quick that sim racing Holland car is, so bearing in mind that that's our leader there, or not sort of leading Corvette, I should say. And again, it just goes to show just how greater effort those guys are putting in, considering they're a guest of this series.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has been good to see him. You know, a cynic would say, oh, why are we inviting them? They haven't raced with these cars. They haven't raced with prototypes. They've only got GT3 experience, and so on and so forth. But these guys have been putting on a great effort, and not only that, they have been having a great time, and that really just goes to show you perhaps in the future, as time goes on and maybe time allows and their teams become a little more matured as far as membership and setups and all the like, they can come up here to the Neo Endurance Series. It's not perhaps like an upgrade. I certainly don't believe that the Gathering of Tweakers series is a series much in its own right and very powerful indeed, but I think it's safe to say that the largest of fish that you can have in your aquarium are swimming here in the Neo Endurance Series. And that has made for an amazing season number 3, at least in my opinion. But either way, regardless of which, this has been, I think, an extraordinary race. And it's actually not hard to say that at all, Henry.
No, it isn't. And it's just been a fantastic season in general. I mean, we've had good races at Spa, we have had Motegi, we've had Circuit of Americas, we've had Sebring. And, well, I just can't wait for the next one, really. But we've got this one to get over and done with first. It's 3 hours, 22 minutes remaining in this new Endurance Series Le Mans 24 hours. And remember, well, since this is going to be the end of the Neo season, it's not the end for Neo Racing this year, because they have that super special event that they're keeping the sponsor of secret from us for some reason in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, well, looking through how the seasons roll, we typically start sometime in October, but beyond that, though, we still have that Coanda Sim Sport car. I think they are very, very slowly reeling in SimRC.de's Irish car. Not necessarily the greatest effort that they could possibly do that Irish car right now, but you know what, it's staying safe, and I think that right now is the priority. They know they have more than enough effort, more than enough time hand over fist because of how much they've pushed, as I believe the SRN Motorsports and Sim Racing for Holland cars are close together, which means that either one is in the pits or they are fighting for position. And no, indeed, Rudy DeWitt is, yes, slowly closing in now to that car, and they are actually with Klaus Kivikas going around the Shinya Machimi Sim Racing car, which is still circulating very well, doing good in, looks like 6th or 7th position in GTS field. And Jimmy, it's Klaus Kivikas and Rudy DeWitt. They're going to try to get around Stephen McGarvey.
It's always difficult negotiating any sort of traffic for the Porsche curse, but I think that at the moment that Rudy DeWitt is just being sort of pulled along by that Coanda car, so that's really helping his effort, of course, coming up to the back of that SRM Motorsports car, and that's another position to look out for this 51 car. Saying that, now Rudy DeWitt now comes into the pit, so that's that out of the way, that's that battle done for now, but that was a good stint for Rudy. I mean, he spent a lot of the last couple of laps sitting behind the Coanda car, so a little bit of fuel save there, but marginal at this point, but let's see if he stays in the car, and let's see what that car can do for the rest of the race.
Well, and it's not only that. He was able to really watch Klaus Kivikas work his Corvette, and it's not to say that Rudy DeWitt was learning per se, but he was able to see, okay, I know what I can do in my Corvette to make it fast. What are you doing to make your Corvette fast? And perhaps adapt that. Perhaps there's a line that he just hadn't adapted to as far as the rubber kicking in or the dirt. As I also see Jose Maria Lopez a Toyota TS040 driver for the World Endurance Championship team. He is now addressing the Le Mans 24 Hours in his prototype in that Thrustmaster Movano car. It is the final car on the lead lap with Coanda SimSport, and they have had a fairly good run of it as Coanda is in pits as well. Marty Piatella is getting on board for his number one, and actually quite a lot of prototypes in. Radicals Online is in. Sylvian Pomerad is getting in. That's a name I was on not that long ago for a double stint before being relieved by Ricardo Faria, so he's out and about, as well as Jonathan Fuller climbing in the Phoenix Motorsports Corvette, the severely stricken one. But either way, a couple of more driver swaps to go, and this is really when you need reinforcements, Connery, just like we need reinforcements here in the booth, which I'm sure is indeed coming.
Yeah, it probably will be, as we see Coanda SimSport just get off and away and just doing one of their final pit stops here in the Neo Endurance Series 24 Hours of Le Mans. Just looking at the number 3 car, actually, Jose Maria Lopez in Thrustmaster Movano Racing HPD. Maybe interested to see what he can do here, in fact, because that gap, with how fast Coanda SimSport is and know how fast they are, they haven't really been able to extend that gap. It's been fluctuating between this sort of 2-minute 10, 2-minute 20 sort of gap, but it's not getting any bigger, but it isn't getting any smaller either. And if Jose Maria Lopez has any afterburner setting on that prototype, he has to be activating it soon if he wants any chance at winning this with 3 hours remaining, 3 hours 15 minutes.
Yeah, and well, I don't think there's enough time, I have to say. I mean, I know that there is a sizable chunk of very real time, but as far as the actual prototype racing goes, I just don't see Thrustmaster Movano being fast enough, really, unless something happens to that VRS Coanda SimSport car in the last 3 hours and 20 minutes of this. That would really inhibit the Coanda car enough to where the Movano car could really affect the outcome of Coanda's race. So, I mean, unless they completely bin the car and turn it into a pile of scrap, which could certainly still happen. Let's be real here. I mean, even the slightest issues could cause trouble for them. But you know what? Everything still seems to be going A-OK for Marty Piatella. It's his first couple of laps back in the cockpit after a rest, so he'll be fresh and clean and ready to potentially continue on, maybe 3 or 4 stints. Get ready to begin the end here, as well, the 88 and the 72 are still close together, Jimmy, but they are, well, first of all, they're both on the pits, but they're not necessarily the closest.
No, I mean, the gap's come out. It's widened a bit to what it was before. We'd have quite a close battle before, but the gap's out to about 3 or 4 seconds still. Also a driver swap there for 72. Mario Bertolotti now getting in the car for that Thrustmaster Movano Racing GTS. Is there one for Core? No, looks like that driver is staying the same. So this will be interesting to see in terms of strategy. Are they going to be doing the same thing? Is there going to be a tyre swap or not? I don't think either of those are going to come jacks from what I can see. So it looks like just a fuel stop for these guys and back out again. But the battle of the pit crews now. I mean, they are very close on tracks. Any time gained in pits will be there. There goes the Core Sim Racing car. 72 is there for quite a bit longer, it seems.
Yeah, it's that's because of the driver swap. Mario Bertolotti is getting in. Stefan Mojahar is getting out. So it'll be a different driver. That Movano car, they've got to make sure that he's strapped in. They got to make sure the fuel is good. And perhaps they had to fix something on that car. He seems to be just hitting the throttle, and that's about it. There he goes. He's off and away. I don't necessarily see anything that they've fixed. So perhaps they did the tires and the driver dropped it down, fueled it up. I'm not quite sure, but Mario Bertolotti is now your pilot in the number 72 Movano Audi, and that's given a fairly big gap to that Core Sim Racing car, Connery.
Yeah, it really has. And of course, Sim Racing, they're just heading on to the Mulsanne straight right now. And Thrustmaster Racing, well, they're just heading into the Dunlop chicane at the start of the lap. So that is a lot of time given up there by the Thrustmaster Racing team. I don't think Mario Bertoli will be too happy with that, considering how close the two cars were coming on to pit road. So it's just spread out this battle that we were watching right here. Rudy DeWitt, Sim Racing for Holland, number 51, just tailing onto the back of the current second in class. That is Sven Demmel in the Sim RC.de Iris Aston Martin right there as they head their way down into the right-left chicane on the Mulsanne. And again, Sim Racing for Holland running very, very well after entering this race through the Gathering Chicas Endurance Series, and they're just doing a very, very good job at the moment.
Yeah, Rudy DeWitt ended up staying in that Corvette. He's rocking and rolling. Actually closing in on Sven Demmel on that SimRC.de Iris car. And the lap times, though, still fairly okay for that Sven Demmel car. A 352, not exactly what you like to see, especially when you consider a 349 for Alexander Voss and a 348 for Coanda. So just I think, though, that traffic is a very key part of this, Jimmy, and it's playing a fairly large role, especially later in the race. I think a lot of drivers are getting tired, a lot of spotters and engineers are getting tired, and it's just a lot of wear on the machine that is the person, as much as the very literal machine as well.
I mean, you're exactly right there. I mean, it can be very difficult when you've been in the car for so long, and all you're doing is keeping all eyes all over the place. And bear in mind, in the GT class of the Corvette and the Aston, they are both passing slower cars and being passed by HPD, so they've got an eye forward and an eye back at all times, which can be just tiring in itself. But traffic does ebb and flow. You'll get a couple of laps and maybe lose a lot of time. And for example, now Klaus having to wait behind one of the GTS cars coming out of the Ford chicane, losing a bit of time there. Not too much time, but a little bit. But next lap maybe he'll get a clean run. So it's just really luck of the draw, and the real time save comes in the driver's ability to be decisive and quick through traffic. There's a difference between being aggressive and being decisive. Aggressive usually ends up with someone getting punted at some point, but being decisive, being very clear in your actions, that's where drivers gain time in traffic.
And speaking of punts and protests and punishments and penalties, looking overview of this all today, I think we've had some not even 14 as just a quick look, confirms 15 total protests and not even necessarily penalties, only 4 stop and holds and 3 warnings. The rest were no further actions. It has been an inordinately clean Neo Endurance race, period, let alone the fact that it is a 24-hour race here at Le Mans. It's been really enjoyable, Connery, to see these guys being able to just race to the fullest and to the highest of their abilities.
Yeah, exactly, and it's been a relatively low attrition rate here. I mean, I count, 7 teams currently not running, and out of, 47 cars took the green flag. That's still quite a lot of cars still running, at least 40 cars still out on track after 24 hours, and that's something that this series really has to be proud of, with so few incidents, so few protests, and so many cars still on track. Well, that's just great to see.
Oh, it absolutely is, and happy for it. It's made this 24 Hours of Le Mans extraordinarily special. It's just something that we have really enjoyed to watch here in the Race Spot TV booth. At least I have, as my time is very quickly coming to an end, and I almost have to say thank goodness. I love watching this race, but commentating is a beast that. It's a beast that very quickly drains your energy. I love doing it, but my goodness, does this take a lot out of you. But it won't be that long now, so we'll still continue going right on.
I've got some
it.
breaking news, actually. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Cam, Hugo, I've decided I'm quitting RaceBot TV. The broadcast is yours for another 3 hours. Goodbye.
Oh, excellent. This is great news. Oh, I'm so happy. Right now, as this is probably the best news I have received in the last 10 seconds.
think that'll be the straw that breaks the camel's back there. Go on, that's it.
No, I'll just blibber. That's all right. Nobody minds blibbering for a while. I mean, I haven't done an onboard lap, and we could just stick me onto a car, and I'll just continuously do an onboard lap in the background.
Just shout race car every so often. It works for me. It'll be fine.
Just do the Control Z to unlock the camera, and just stand there at the side of the other side of the Armco barrier, just yelling race car loudly.
Yeah.
It seems like it would work. It worked for Daytona. But either way, so your top three still running are top three still running. Everybody pretty much is still running. Your top three in the top running and the categories. VRS Coanda Sim Sport number 1 after 20 hours and 48 minutes of racing. Thrustmaster Movano Racing with 2 minutes and 15 seconds behind that Coanda car. Core Sim Racing with 2 minutes and 27 seconds behind that car. They're all fairly spaced out from one another. Core Sim Racing and Movano, even though the gap isn't that far, they do manage to keep that stabilized, but Jose Maria Lopez is currently piloting that car, and he is, quite frankly, a very fast foot. Heisenfeld Core Motorsports is currently sitting on pit lane. Alexander Voss sitting in that car, the number 55, getting its service as it takes yet another pit stop towards the finish of this race that it, at this point, has willingly earned the right for me to say that this car is most likely, unless something very tragic happens, going to come away with it. The SimRC.de Iris car is trying as hard as it can to keep the pressure on, and pressure it is, as the Aston Martin piloted by Sven Dummel and the entirety of the SimRC.de crew is doing an extraordinary job. VRS Coanda Sim Sport currently in pursuit. Your top running Corvette. The Corvette seems to have come around in the warmer weather, regardless of if that is just the Aston Martins going away or the Corvettes coming into their own, unknown at this time. But either way, the Corvettes seem to be coming on strong as VRS Coanda Sim Sport, the number 48 car, piloted currently by Klaus Kivikas, is comfortably in the third position, and it is still going on strong, trying to pursue Sven Dummel. SimRC.de Crimson and SRN Motorsports round out your top 5, with Sim Racing for Holland sitting on the outside with Rudy DeWitt hunting down SRN very quickly. Going to GTS, it's Maximilian Wenig, as they have been trading positions with Team DFTBA pretty much every single pit stop. It's gotten to the point now where Team DFTBA actually holds the lead for a little while until they come into the pits, rather than before it was simply the blink of an eye. So 2 definite strategies will be coming to a head very shortly. That is going to be very exciting to see who comes out the top of that strategic battle. Core Sim Racing GTS, Thrustmaster Movano Racing GTS, and then Team RSO. Team RSO having an incident quite some time ago that has slowed them down. They were really in a shoehorn for third position. Not going to happen today, not with that front damage. But outside of that, though, not really much in the retirement section. We had Thrustmaster Movano Racing blow a suspension on the exit of Porsche curbs, and that, frankly, has been about it. SimRC.de Emerald, the prototype car, ended up blowing an engine some hours ago, and it is now well down the list, having retired. And that, of course, is your 24 hours of Le Mans Neo Endurance Series update. And of course, this is hours 18 to 21. We've got about 5 minutes left here in the broadcast before we hand it over to Will Vincent, Connery Maddock, and Jimmy Broadbent. Will, have you had a good rest?
I'm sorry, you expected me to go to sleep?
Have you had a good rave?
Yes. Many
Excellent.
raves occurred. I was actually down on the
I don't know what
infield, bouncing along.
I don't know what British people do. I just imagine you all go to like Coachella or something on a weekend. I have no idea.
I will say one thing, actually. Let's talk about this. I mean, you know, Le Mans is a fantastic 24-hour event. It always has been, always will be. But actually, what makes it so special for the fans is that as it goes dark in Le Mans, you actually end up with this fantastic kind of camp setting, which has got concerts going on, it's got music going on, it's got people just hanging out, listening to Radio Le Mans or whatever, and I think that's why it deserves to be on many people's bucket list, because you don't just sit in, well, some people do, but many people don't just sit in the stands eyes glued to one portion of the racetrack. They move around. They really do experience this race.
Well, why did you have to bring nighttime up? Do you not know what you have done?
Hey, I'm just talking about the fact that things occasionally, things happen. I'm not
but we
responsible
just
for
got
any
over
of my
this in the
words.
YouTube chat. They
I'm not
just
responsible
got
for
over
any
this.
of my words.
But guys, it's soon, okay? And I don't know how soon, actually. I think it's a ways off. But yes, now that we finally sunk the battleship that was DirectX
What I was
9,
saying, though, is that
sure.
the actual 24-hour
Oh, it's beautiful.
is
It's
a proper
great.
bucket list race for those reasons.
Absolutely. Sebring is mine because the atmosphere and the environment, even though it's a 12-hour race, it does end at nighttime, and I guess it is a very, very, really, it's only got like one big race of the year, and that's Sebring, the 12 hours. I mean, my goodness. Plus,
Yeah,
you
it's got an
occasionally
IndyCar
get to see.
fest.
Oh, well, I know, but that's not. They don't have campfire parties all night long. I'm just saying.
They could do.
They could. Maybe. I just don't know. But and then of course you can see NASA launching rockets into space, which I guess is interesting a little bit to some people. But either way, back to the racing. Will, you have missed a lot since you guys have departed. Not much in the field of retirements, though, but very much so in the terms of action. The GTS field is turning into a lovely battle between a lot of different cars for positions. It's relatively easy to come upon them. The battles in GT have spaced out a bit. I'm keeping my eyes on the sim racing for Holland car.
Isn't spaced out what they're generally doing in the infield?
What's that?
Spaced out, is that what they're generally doing in the infield as well?
That too. It took you that long to come up with that?
No, I said the second you said I was actually waiting for a nice little break, but I decided
No,
you were just
it's
gonna
not
go on.
happening. No, I had one more car classification finish, and in prototype, I'm waiting for Team Chimera, Acme Racing, and Friction Sim Sport to kick off. They're fairly close to one another, and it's only a matter of time before somebody makes a hiccup and makes it easy for the other person to catch up.
So that's about it from you, really, Cam. Thank you.
Well, that is about it. It is 7:59. Well, with that, for both myself, Cam Walsh, and for Hugo Louis, this has been, of course, a RaceSpot TV production. Hours 18 through 21 of the 24 Hours of Le Mans with the Neo Endurance Series. Of course, we've loved having you along for this section of the race. Please do stick around for the finale. We're going to decide who wins the championships, who comes away with the double points, and who can figure out how to click that link in the chat that sends you to the next video. Well, we'll find out if any of those things come to pass. Will Coanda manage to keep their crown? Will Heisenfeld Core Motorsports keep it clean? And can the Pure Racing team strategy come out on top of the Team DFTBA strategy? And we will see in the next couple of hours' time. It's going to be Will Vincent, Connery Maddock, and Jimmy Broadbent. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we will catch you all next time.